contractor Stephen Bruno is suing his ex-fiancée, executive assistant Kathy Ross, for an unpaid loan for a truck and for the cost of an outside deck. Kathy is countersuing for the return of belongings, for medical bills resulting from an accident, and for the cost to bring the unfinished deck up to code.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 359 on the calendar in the matter of Bruno versus Ross. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You used to be in love, you're not in love anymore. So now we're here, is that right? So, Mr. Bruno, you say that Miss Ross, who used to be your love, owes you for two things. First, a loan for materials that you purchased to do a deck in her house.
Right.
Deck was falling apart, you're in that business, you said, I'll do a deck. According to you, you said, you pay for the materials, I'll do the labor as a labor of love. And the second loan is for a truck, $2,500, and you say that both of these things, repayment was promised by Miss Ross for both of these things. Miss Ross says, baloney. Miss Ross has some counterclaims. She was at your house one day, according to her, and she fell down a flight of stairs. You were still dating after that.
Yes.
Is that right? But you decided you might as well sue him for that. Now.
Well, my feeling was that it was ridiculous that it got to this point anyway, so if we were going to...
If we were going to dredge up old trash, we might as well get all the old trash up. That's what we are. We are receptacles for trashy lawsuits. Not. Because if you fell down a flight of stairs at his house and you hurt yourself, you should have proceeded against his homeowners at the time. If you chose not to do that, don't bother me with it. The next thing that you're suing him for on the counterclaim, because I'm whittling down this lawsuit. I'm going to get to whittling down yours in a second.
No problem.
Oh, I'm glad you feel that way. The next thing that you're suing him for is you say that he started work on this deck of yours and he left it halfway and you want him to pay to have it finished.
Correct.
Unlikely, but a possibility. Third thing is you say he has some property of yours. Skis, what else?
He has all of my ski equipment.
Do you have her ski equipment?
No, I don't.
Where is it?
To my knowledge, it's in her basement.
You don't have it?
No, I have my daughters and my own.
He doesn't have it. Next.
He has a phone of mine, cordless
What kind of phone?
Cordless phone.
How did he get a cordless phone of yours?
One of his phones was not working properly, and he was, well, we were going to get married, and he was talking about going and getting another phone, and I said, well, let's just put that in your basement. That's
great, perfect. So you gave him a phone. So what else?
A cookbook and some kitchen utensils.
How did he get those?
I was over at his house cooking a lot, and they were left. There were items that I had not taken back home.
That you left there? Items that you left there?
Right. I never thought it would get to this.
It didn't. So with the exception of, I'll let you tell me the story about the deck. Forget about everything else. Okay, Mr. Bruno, tell me about the deck, the materials that you purchased, sir. Tell me where you were with her when you decided that you were going to fix this deck.
I was on my phone. We were discussing it.
Oh, tell me what the discussion was.
It was Mother's Day, a couple days before, and she has some puppies that were getting ready to be sold, and she was worried about the safety of people coming to view the deck, or view the puppies, and didn't want them walking on the deck, so she was trying to figure out another route for them to go, and as a Mother's Day gift, I said, well, I'd take care of the deck so that she could have it sold, or not sold, but sell the puppies without worrying about people walking on it.
Great.
Just reimburse me once, when the puppies are sold, or if you refinance your house. I would charge you no labor. That was my Mother's Day gift. Plus, I took her to dinner.
All right, now let me hear what the phone call was like, Ms. Ross.
He called me the morning of Mother's Day, and he said, I've decided what I want to do for you for Mother's Day. He said, I want to rebuild your deck. And I'm like, well, that's not something that I can afford to do at this point. Well, you know, this is something I want to do for you. You never let me do anything for you. I'm concerned about your safety on the deck. You're going to have people coming over to look at the puppies. Okay. He says, okay, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to pick up the materials, and I'll be over.
Now tell me about the truck.
Oh, I had been looking for a truck. I knew that once I sold the litter of puppies, that I would have the down payment for the truck. And I had been looking at different trucks, and he's saying, why don't you get that when you like it? And I'm like, no, because I don't have my down payment yet. So I think one truck slipped away from me twice at 2 different locations. I went and I looked at another truck. He came with me. I liked the truck. He's like, you should just get the truck. I'll just give you the money. He said, your birthday's coming up in September. And
When were the puppies sold?
the last puppy wasn't sold until the first week in August.
What kind of puppies were they?
Labrador retrievers.
How much did you get for the litter?
They sold for different amounts. The highest puppy being sold for $425. The majority of them were sold for $300.
How many puppies were there in the litter?
There ended up being 8.
So there's your $2,500, right? So you'd have had the money for your down payment.
Correct.
When did the two of you break up?
A day before Father's Day.
In June.
Yes, the 15th.
Okay, and when did you give her the $2,500?
May 25th.
So you give him back his $2,500, Miss Ross, because that's the right thing to do. So.
Your Honor.
Yeah. That's.
I have a police report of when he came over to my house demanding back the engagement ring and all of this money that I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll give you the money. He comes in my house, he starts throwing things, so I had to call the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's an exceptionally high bid if she's just going to put it up to code, which in that case would be a handrail.
Then you should have finished it,
I would have loved to.
but you didn't.
And later today,
He only used electrical tape and wired 3 wires together, and it caught on fire.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. It's true.
That is not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Bruno says ex-fiancée Kathy Ross owes for a truck loan and for the cost to build an outside deck. Kathy says they were both presents.
Did you give him back his ring?
Yes.
Why did he have to come over to your house for the ring?
I have no idea why it even got to that in the first
Well,
place.
why don't you tell me, sir?
She wouldn't bring it back over, and when I did show up, she'd tell me, get the hell off her property, or what the hell was I doing there? And I told her I wanted the ring back and the money that I'd loaned her, and then I was out of there. And I didn't throw things, Your Honor. I threw a cell phone, which was mine, and that was all I threw.
All right, you lost your temper. That's not the right thing to do.
No, ma'am,
But
it
he gets
isn't.
his $2,500 back. Let me see pictures of the deck. Sort of left this job in the middle, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I loaned her the money for the truck, and I didn't have the money to finish the deck.
So what you're saying to me is you loaned her the money for the truck, and because you loaned her the money for the truck, you didn't have enough money for the materials for the rest of the deck.
In part.
You understand where I'm going, Mr. Bruno. That's what the problem is. You're trying to anticipate where I'm going. You took a house that looked okay. Now, it may not have been okay, but it looked okay.
It was an unsafe deck.
And it doesn't look okay now.
It's better than what it was, ma'am.
No, 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 it wasn't. No.
Yes.
No, no, no.
People were
This is before,
They stepped through that
and this
deck.
is after. There's no railing. There's no guard railing.
No,
Is that
no.
right?
That's right.
And there's not even a full floor.
Right.
I got it. Can I see the cheapest estimate that you got to finish this deck? I think you say in your counterclaim that it was $1,800. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, this estimate is $1,200 to $1,400.
Right, and there's a big, the other one is for $3,200, and I don't know why the difference in the two is
I
so
don't know
large.
either.
And that's not to restore the deck back to the condition it was in. That's just to put up a hand railing and stairs from
And it
the
says to
porch.
bring the deck up to code.
Yes, ma'am, but it's
Okay.
not, I would not be able to use that deck the same way that I was using the other deck. I have no way to get from one part of my yard to the other.
I'm going to take the highest of this estimate, which is $1,200 to $1,400, because I think you're responsible for at least giving her some semblance of a deck back in her house.
Well,
You can't
if I-
just walk away from a gift. You started this, you have to finish it. And if you're not going to go to her house, and I can understand and finish it, somebody's going to have to. So she owes you $2,500 for the truck. From that, I'm deducting $1,400 for the deck. She owes you $1,100 for the truck.
Your Honor, in regards to that, that's an exceptionally high bid if she's just going to put it up to code, which in that case would be a handrail at $2 a foot.
Then you should have finished it,
I would have loved to.
but you didn't.
have
Judgment
the
for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100, which is the difference between fixing the deck and the $2,500 she owes you for the truck. That's all.
That is our excuse. You may step out.
She had conflicts with my family and didn't want to deal with it.
I didn't want to be like the rest of the in-laws and feel like I was shoved to the outside of that main core.
I think it was a little unfair because I know she wasn't telling the truth. We had an agreement prior to all this, but Judge ruling is judge ruling.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Olshansky versus Longo. Step forward, please.
Administrative Assistant Elaine Olshansky is suing former friend, 23-year-old interior decorator Jason Longo, for a refund of his fee and for damage to her home. Jason is countersuing for the unpaid portion of his fee.
Ms. Olshansky, you hired the defendant to do some painting in your house.
Correct.
And paid him some $2,200. It's your claim that he did a lousy job. You want your money back, and not only do you want your money back, you want him to pay you to have some of the work that he did treated by somebody else. So you're suing him for even more than what you paid him for. Mr. Longo said that he did a fine job, that you're angry about something else, and he was a friend of one of your children's. Is that right? That's how you knew him?
Correct.
Had he had experience in the painting and decorating business?
I was told he did.
How much work was he supposed to do?
He was supposed to do my dining room, and then we agreed verbally that he would do some extra painting.
Tell me what he was supposed to do, Miss Olshansky. Not just your dining room for $2,200. Come on.
What he did is he painted the dining room, and he painted the trim in the living room, and he had my son help him with...
What other rooms did he paint?
The living room and the hallway. And upstairs in our bathroom, he painted the bathroom vanity.
What work did you do in her house?
Our original agreement was to work on the dining room, which is where I started. As I was working on the dining room...
What were you supposed to do in the dining room?
The dining room, we were trying to remake the whole thing. She had gorgeous furniture to begin with. We were just removing the wallpaper that was existing.
Okay, so let's start that. You were removing wallpaper.
Yes.
What's next?
We decided on a color scheme for the dining room and a finish that we wanted to do in the lower half. Basically planned out the lighting fixture that we wanted and the colors that were going to be in the room, especially the lower half. We decided to do a faux finish and put a chair rail in the center.
Just a second. Now, then you did living room trim.
Yes, I did, at no charge.
And hall.
I did the crown molding in the hall.
And what about the vanity upstairs?
The vanity was part of our original agreement to do with the dining room. When she approached me about the dining room, she also said she was remodeling both bathrooms upstairs, and she had asked me what we could do with the vanity, and it was a wood, but because of the heat steam damage, it was kind of tarnished, so we decided to paint it, and we used a metallic paint to mimic the border tile that was upstairs.
Your Honor, it wasn't damaged. My upstairs vanity was not damaged. It was in perfect finish because he didn't prime that either. He just painted right over it very nicely.
Right. And your original agreement was $2,200, is that right?
Yes. The work also included, though, the solarium room in the back of the house, which what happened was we started doing work in the dining room, and then as I was working in the dining room, Mrs. Olshansky purchased furniture for, I believe it was the living room, but decided that it wasn't going to work out, so we decided to redo their solarium area in the back. That was also included in the price that she paid me, and that was mainly interior decorating. There was no painting done out there. It was just making it into kind of like a cluttered area, into like a nice sitting room with new furniture, accessories, and
So what
such.
did you do in that area?
No painting was done, just accessorizing, purchasing accessories.
That's what you did?
That's correct.
Okay. So that sounds like a reasonable amount of money, $2,200. So what are you complaining about?
The paint is all peeling
Let me
everywhere
see.
he painted. I have many pictures.
Let me see where it's peeling.
Your Honor, I also have pictures of the before work and the during stage process work. I was not allowed to photograph the after work. The plaintiff did not allow me back into her home to do so.
You never asked.
Shh. This is an outside picture, is that right?
No, it isn't. That's the
That's
back
the
porch.
solarium.
Those are the wires hanging where he did wiring, and it caught on fire because he only used electrical tape and wired 3 wires together, and it caught on fire.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. It's true.
Your Honor, I have a degree in fire protection technology, and I've been in school and been with the fire service for 6 years. It's not true.
Who did the wiring,
Okay.
Jason?
You have a fire marshal's report?
No. We just
Okay.
unplugged it and put the fire out.
I have no idea where you say the paint is peeling. You show me in those at the blow-ups.
Your Honor,
These
would
are
you like
zero.
to see my pictures?
Yeah. I find it very hard to look at these blow-ups, so don't show me your... Don't you have regular pictures?
I use a digital camera, so I have to print them out. The
Wow.
first set of pictures starts with the dining room before. Your Honor, her son also helped me paint. I'd like to see the pictures to make sure that's my work.
Absolutely. Well, whether it's your work or her son's work, it doesn't make any difference. You were the contractor.
Your Honor, I also have estimates.
For what?
to repair the damage that was done.
I'm not going to give you any amount of money to repair damage. I've seen the photographs. If you're not satisfied with the job that he did, I suggest you not give him any recommendation.
The pictures show peeling paint. It's latex painted over oil base, which peels like rubber.
Ma'am, this is the letter from the company that I used.
Put it down. Where was the paint peeling? In what room?
Every room, at every spot, it peels off because it's latex over oil. I have.
What do you mean every room and every spot?
All
I've
of
seen.
them.
Look, listen to me.
All the trim
I
work,
saw
just the
these-
trim. Just the trim is painted latex over oil. And I asked him, I questioned him. I said, I don't believe that you can put latex over oil. And he said, you can as long as you prepare properly.
Your Honor, that was her initial concern, and I did acknowledge that that was an issue that we had to take into account. However, I knew that you could paint latex over oil paint. The dining room was sanded down. The other rooms I cannot account for because I came in midway through the whole situation.
Which other rooms?
The dining room was the only room I personally painted myself completely.
No, you painted all of the trim in the living room, and you had Peter, without charge, help you get through painting
Right, and
the
I was
hallway.
also without charge helping the hallway and the living room.
You know, charges...
Just a second. Is that true?
If
That
you-
your original estimate was for the dining room and the
Upstairs
vanity.
Correct.
And the other
And the decoration
trim
of the
that
solarium.
he did either helping you out with your son or whoever else was helping him out. Was it your son who was helping him?
Yes.
And that was as a favor.
No, the work wasn't as a favor.
That's a lie.
He agreed to paint in those rooms also.
That is not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
If you're not satisfied, don't give him a recommendation, Miss Olshansky.
Your Honor,
That's all.
what happened was...
What? Listen to me. You're not losing.
I understand.
You had some sort of a falling out that involves a social issue, which you seem to suggest here, involving her son, that has absolutely nothing to do with me, that has nothing to do with this case. Ms.
That's correct.
Olshansky is complaining about a subjective look at work, which she says is below par. And I'm saying, based on what I see, the rooms as painted look just fine to me.
It's just the trim, not the wall.
May I say
Well, then
something
get
else,
somebody
Your
to
Honor?
fix the trim. And what are you suing him for $3,000 for, which is more than even you paid him?
That's what the estimates are.
Get
to
your
redo
son
the
to do
trim.
it. Strip down the trim if you're not happy with it and repaint it in either latex or flat or whatever color you like.
Your Honor, may I say something
You had
else?
practically your whole house done. Don't say anything. You're not losing. What's your problem?
I just want to let her know she had complained about the amount that I had charged her, and she was saying that I basically owed her to do the rest of the rooms and that I owed her to do the repairs based
didn't
off the
say
amount that that I charged her for. And I have I have documents that show that she has discounts in excess of $2,500 that I had given her because she was a friend of mine. So if she's saying that I overcharged her, it's completely untrue.
Excuse me,
Just
Your
a second.
Honor.
She's not complaining you overcharged her,
She's
sir.
complaining-
She's not complaining
No.
that you overcharged her. She knows that for the amount of work she had done in her house, she was getting a bargain. She knows that. Her problem is the bargain turned out to be not such a bargain
a
because she
nightmare.
wasn't happy with some of the trim work that was done. For that, you don't sue. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 380 on the calendar in the matter of Eckert versus Zavon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Eckert, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. You claim that you loaned him some money during that time and he owes you a month's rent because when he left, he didn't give you notice, and pursuant to your agreement, he should have given you a month's notice. Mr. Zavon says that he did borrow some money from you, not as much as you are claiming, and he would have paid you back, except that because of your actions, he lost his job, he had no way to pay you back, and that you kept some of his personal property, and he has a counterclaim. When did you live together? From when to when?
April 18th, 2001 to November 2nd, 2001.
Now, what were these loans for?
Actually, he was behind on some bills, and he had asked me to pay them for him, and I agreed as long as he signed something saying that he would pay me back, which he did.
Let me see what he signed.
I'd like to see that as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. It seems as though it's been changed.
It has been changed to less than it was.
Okay.
If you look very carefully, it's been changed to, I looked at that myself. It's been changed to a lesser amount.
Those
not
aren't
a
my
great.
initials, by the way.
That's your signature, however. I've
That
compared
is
it
my
with the signature on the answer. That is your signature.
It is.
So now you remember signing that agreement.
I did,
Good. Now may I have it, please?
but not for that amount.
No, not true, sir. Because the original amount on this was some $1,500 and some odd dollars, and that was changed because the Sprint bill was not $200 and some odd dollars, but only $115. So it was reduced. You see that? It was reduced, not increased.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. You signed it. How much of this did you pay?
At the time, I wasn't able to pay.
Not at the time. At any time. How much of this did you pay?
$400.
Okay. Is that how much you paid back?
He paid back $350.
All right, he said 400. You have proof of 400?
Yes, I do. I have canceled checks. I also paid in money orders, and I don't have the receipts for those.
Okay.
But I'll be honest and say he did pay me $350, even though he doesn't have the proof of that.
Okay. $1,130. That's what's left
Correct.
on the debt. Mm-hmm. And you're suing him for $2,028. Explain that to me.
Actually, on the lease agreement he signed, it says that he must give me a 30-day, 1-month notice prior to moving out. And when
Did you have a roommate before he moved in?
his friend actually moved in at the same time, and they both had the same agreement.
I asked you a question. I want you to give me the answer. Did you have a roommate before he moved in?
We all moved in at the exact same time, basically.
Are you still living in the same place?
Yes, I am.
With whom?
I have roommates now.
Okay. Now, you left, sir, November 2nd,
Yes, that's correct.
2001. Does your lease agreement provide that you give her 30 days' notice?
Yes, it does.
Did you?
No, I did not.
Why?
Because she caused me to lose my job and sabotaged my career.
Okay, now let me hear your reason why she caused you to lose your job.
Okay. At the time, I had a job, a regular job, as a guitar player in a successful rock band. We were touring and we were on the East Coast, and I borrowed the money from her because our singer had an accident and broke a rib. I didn't have any money to pay the bill at the time, and so she offered to pay it, and I accepted. She said that I could pay her back when I had the money. However, over the next few months, she became very jealous, and it started getting really out of hand. She started calling me nonstop. She started going through my mail. She started going down my phone bill and calling every number on the phone bill. As a matter of fact, I have a phone bill here where her notes are evident, where she was looking for whether it would be a man or a woman answering the phone, and whether or not she would approve.
I still don't understand how she caused you to lose your job.
She was very jealous, and so when I was out on the road touring with a rock band, there are inherently situations that arise where women can get crazy, and she was aware of this, and she became very jealous, and she wanted me to come back to Los Angeles really bad. So what she did was she started to call the singer's wife.
Did you call the singer's wife?
She's a close friend of mine.
What kind of conversation did you have with her?
I asked her if she had heard from her husband because Mark hadn't called me in a week, and he was my boyfriend at the time, and I was very concerned and worried because I had just gone through his pants pocket and found a phone number from a girl, which I called, who is a dancer, a stripper in New Orleans, and I spoke to her on the phone, and she did confirm, you know, that she had been talking to Mark, and she actually forwarded me the emails that Mark had sent her. So it did actually confirm that he was
Okay, so what did
cheating
you
on
call this woman for?
me. She's just my friend. I just wanted to know if she had heard from them. I was trying to call him and contact him because we were in a relationship. So if I hadn't heard from him in 3 days, I was very upset. I was seeing, you know, I was under stress, and I was seeing, you know, I had lost some of my hair because of stress. I mean, it was just very, very bad. But he actually, after I found out
how
he
did
had
that
cheated.
cause you to lose your job?
She's told her so many stories that she finally, the singer's wife that is, finally started to call the singer and tell him that she was filing for divorce, she was going to take their daughter, and that he would never see them again. And in order to keep the peace in his family, he had to let me go.
That's
I
not
would have
true.
done
I
the
don't know
same
if that's
thing.
true, sir. That's a lot above my system.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Did you borrow her pants? Don't tell me I don't want to hear
Yes, I borrowed them.
All right, now, when did your cousin borrow them?
Yeah.
Oh, God, give me strength.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Eckert says ex-boyfriend Mark Zavon owes for rent and for unpaid loans. Mark says Sherry is holding his belongings.
All right. You all moved into this apartment together? Is
That's
that
correct.
right? And each of you were to pay $500 a month?
That's correct.
Each?
Yes.
Okay. So he owes you $1,630. He didn't give you a month's notice. That's so far. You have a counterclaim, sir, for $5,000. He claimed that she caused you to lose your job.
That's correct.
That would be the reason that you just gave me, that you called the singer's wife and complained and told her a whole bunch of stories. Which,
Yeah, he was very happy. Excuse me.
That the singer is not here, the wife is not here.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's all hearsay. That's somewhere out here that I don't hear. All right, now the next thing that you're counterclaiming for is personal property that you say that she sold at a garage sale. What's the nature of the personal property?
Well, it's basically things like a mountain bike, camping gear, grill.
Why didn't you take that with you when you moved out?
At the time, I had just flown back from Battle Creek, Michigan. They dropped me off in the middle of nowhere, you know. So I had to find my way back to Los Angeles, and I had a U-Haul. I went to get my stuff.
So you got a U-Haul?
Yes, I did. And I started to load my stuff into the truck, at which point Sherry came home, and she started to throw my stuff out into the driveway and damage my stuff. And I was just trying to get out of there as fast as possible. I just wanted to be gone.
Yeah.
And so I did my best to get everything I could.
Yeah.
But I was unable to get everything. That
was in November of 2001. Is that right?
And I've tried to get my stuff back since then.
Well, what have you done?
I asked her if she would give me my stuff back, and she said that she would if I paid her the money that I owed her. So I began paying her some money in order to get my stuff back. But I never received one thing. She would say that she would give me the stuff back, and then she would change her mind. And I never did get one thing back.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, actually, the camping gear he's talking about is a sleeping bag, which I purchased. Here's the receipt. And
Well, you purchased it for whom?
For when we were going to go on a camping trip, but it was been returned. It got returned within the same week.
It was a
so
gift.
When he's talking about camping gear, it's something I own. The things that he's talking about are my things. He got everything that out of there.
Just a
he was
second. Let
talking
me see your list. Let me see your list.
The bike, I don't even know what he's talking about. He never left a bike or any property there. There's nothing there.
Mountain bike, space heater.
I never saw it. I don't know what he's talking about.
Weight bench?
That's actually Todd's, his friend's weight bench. It's not his.
What about the incline bench?
That's also Todd's. That's not Mark's.
I don't know what she's talking about. This is all my property.
No. Well, then, I feel like he had a U-Haul that was a huge truck, and before I got home, he had the whole thing packed. So I don't know why he didn't just take anything that he felt was left behind.
I don't know either. And I don't know why. And I don't know why he waited for a year to come after all this stuff. Anyway, in any event, you didn't pay any rent. Is that right?
I paid rent right up until the time that I was
No, you didn't pay any rent after you moved out, did you?
No, I did
not.
not.
Then you should have come to get all this stuff.
I tried to, but she wouldn't let me come over, and I didn't want to come over if it...
Then what you do is you go to court.
That's
do you understand?
true. Yes,
what you do is you sue. What do you expect her to do? Hold on to all this stuff for a year?
I tried to get it back continuously.
Then what you tried by going to court, just like you did now.
I understand.
And you do so promptly.
Yes, ma'am.
It's easy. It's easy for her. She's got an IOU. IOU makes it easy. A lease makes it easy. But you don't leave a whole bunch of stuff, if this is your property, for a year and then say, oh, by the by, I want my property back. So you forget about that. You owe her $1,630. Isn't that what I said? $1,630?
$1,630.
Pay the money. Goodbye.
Eyes are excused. You may step out.
It was a jealous nightmare.
His unfaithfulness and his cheating and his liaisons with groupies on the tour bus actually was the breaking point of the relationship.
She really didn't like the whole idea of someone being out on the road.
He couldn't stay faithful.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Doss versus Harold. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Jennifer Doss is suing her former best friend, 18-year-old student Nicole Harold, for unpaid rent, damage to her car, and for ruining a pair of slacks.
Ms. Doss, the defendant is or was a friend of yours, and your claim has three parts to it. First, it is your claim that she owes you for rent. She moved in with you and your family, and according to you, agreed to pay your mother some rent. She didn't pay your mother rent, you paid your mother, and therefore you want her to repay you. So far correct?
Yes.
Number two, you claim that she set fire to the inside of your car with a cigarette and damaged it. You wanted to pay for that. And number three, you say that she borrowed some clothes of yours, a pair of jeans, and destroyed them, damaged them by cutting off the bottoms, and you wanted to replace the jeans.
They're not jeans, they're dress pants.
Pants. The defendant says you burned the car yourself or somebody else did. She didn't do it. There was never an agreement for rent, and your pants don't fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you move into her house?
I was having family problems at my aunt's house, and I guess I was with her. We were at Firestone Park, this park we were at.
Don't go into all this. I don't care where you were at. Okay. You were having family problems at home, and she invited you to come and live with her?
Yeah, she said it would be okay for me to stay.
Okay.
And there was never no agreement. Her mom said if I had a job to help around, like help out, if I had a job.
When you moved, listen to me. Why don't you let me ask questions? When you moved in with her, were you working?
No.
Is that right?
Yes.
So how did you expect her to pay rent?
Well, me and my mom tried several times. We went and put in applications. Me and Nicole both, we went together.
Could you keep your voice up? You went to put in applications for what?
Well, we went to Rubbermaid and...
To find a job?
Yes.
But at the time she moved in with you, she had no job.
Yes.
So how did you expect her to pay rent?
We were going to get a job.
But she didn't get a job.
No.
Good. So there's no rent. You think that I believe that you gave your mother rent for her? Do you think I believe that? That's what you say in your complaint. Is that what you're going to tell me here in court, that you gave your mother rent for her?
Yes, I did.
I don't believe you. How's that? Next thing is your car. Tell me about your car.
Well, me and Nicole went up to Chapel Hill Mall, and she was smoking, and we met up with one of her friends, and she asked me if I wanted to go over their house. I said fine, because we weren't doing nothing at the time. We were just driving around. And when we pulled up in front of their house, she went to put her cigarette out on a Taco Bell cup, and she dropped her cigarette, and it went under the seat. And she told me that she put it out, and when I turned on my dome light, there was smoke coming out from under my seat, and I started yelling at Nicole, and she still insisted that she put it out. And then when I reached my hand under the seat, I found the cigarette, and I had burn holes in my seat and on my floor.
And what about on your hand?
No, I didn't have them on my hand.
Well, was the cigarette out or not?
It was a little bit out, but by the time I found it, it was out.
And let me see the damage to your car.
And there was also a time where she burnt the ceiling because she didn't roll down the window far enough to flick it out, and I also have pictures of that, too.
What is this, on the seat?
Yes, on the bottom of the seat.
Underneath?
Yes.
Can you see it when you look at the car?
No.
And what about this?
That's the ceiling.
Okay. So you can't see the cigarette hole when you look at your car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, you fill up under the seat and you can feel it.
Did you fix it?
No, I have not yet.
Are you going to fix it?
Yes, I am.
Why?
Because I just bought my car 4 months before that happened, and I'm trying to trade it in so I don't have all these...
Well, maybe if you don't tell anybody, they won't know that there's a little hole underneath the seat where you have to put your hand.
Well, the dealership already knows about it.
Who told them?
I did, because I wanted to get it fixed.
Did you put out a cigarette in her car?
I put it at the top on accident. The top I did. The little burn
So
hole.
this you did?
Yeah, one. There's like a lot of them, but I did one.
There were a lot of them. From where?
From the back seat when she had like tons of people in the back and smoking. She like crowded people in her back seat.
Is that true?
I have a paper right here. It said that there was no other burn holes found when the guy inspected my car.
It was under the seat.
He
There's people in
inspected
the
the
back
whole
and it
car.
fell.
So the answer is you did burn a hole in her car. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, not the ground, not the seat.
Just this?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Shouldn't let people smoke in your car. All right, let's talk about the pants. Did you borrow her pants? Don't tell me I don't want to hear I can tell when you're telling me the truth. I can tell when you're lying. So I don't care what you wrote in your answer.
Okay.
Forget about that. Did you borrow her pants?
Yes, I borrowed them.
All right, now, that's good. Not your cousin, you borrowed her pants. And did you cut her pants?
No, my cousin Jamie did.
But
And I
you
told her.
borrowed them.
Yeah. So
And
did
you're
Jamie.
responsible.
She borrowed it too, Jamie, when we were all going to the club. And I told her the next day that Jamie cut them, and she said, I don't know, she said something to Jamie.
Explain that to me.
All right.
You borrowed the
Yeah.
pants?
Yeah, I borrowed them once.
And then
so
you returned them to her?
I was living with her.
You returned them to her?
Yeah, but it wasn't cut up yet.
When did your cousin borrow them?
Yeah. When we
Oh, God, give me strength. Not yeah. When requires a date.
It was after I wore them. Because when she first
Who
got
did
it.
she borrow them from?
Her.
Is that right?
Jamie never wore these. She had a different outfit of mine on.
Did she ever borrow them from you?
Nicole did, but Jamie did not.
Really?
Yes.
Let me see the bottom.
They're cut up over on this side, and right here.
Now, you understand that in your answer, you said to me that you never borrowed her pants because her pants wouldn't fit you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a So that was a lie. Is that right?
Right.
You both lie. How could you both lie? Why would you both lie in court? Isn't that a stupid thing? You didn't pay your mother any rent, and you, in fact, did borrow her pants. And you did cause some damage to her car. You should be responsible for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Okay, good. How many people smoked in your car within the last month?
None. There has not been no smoking in my car since Nicole burnt the bottom of my seat.
Then let's say prior to Nicole burning the hole in your car. How many people smoked in your car?
Maybe about 3 or 4, not that many.
3 or 4 is a lot of people. I thought you told me in your complaint that you had a no-smoking car.
I do, but I told everybody that smoked in my car, if they can smoke responsibly, they can smoke in my car. But if they can't, I don't want them smoking in my car.
That's a lie. Can I see those pants, please? Tell me about why you moved out.
Me and her got in an argument, and I
What'd you get into an argument about?
Guys or something. Like, we were at her boyfriend's house, and ever since then, we weren't talking anymore.
So you moved back home?
Yeah.
All right. How much did you pay for these pants?
They were $42 for the whole outfit. I have a letter from the place where I got them from.
Can I see that part, please? When did you buy them?
Probably about a year ago.
Did you ever wear them?
Yes, I have.
How many times did you wear them?
Maybe twice.
Okay. And they were $42. I'm giving you $300 for the hole in your car and $42 for the pants. You get nothing for the rent because that was a fib. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $342. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 440 on the calendar in the matter of Sullivan versus Sims. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Sullivan, I assume this is your daughter, is that right? And this is your son-in-law?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, your daughter and son-in-law purchased a car that was for your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in March of last year.
Correct.
And the agreement was that you would make a monthly payment that would cover the car payment and insurance.
Correct.
To your daughter and son-in-law.
Correct.
And you would have the car, and when the car was paid off, I assume it would be yours. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You did have the car for a period of time. Then you had an accident with the car in
Correct.
a parking lot. And you called your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to you, you put a note on the car.
Yes.
Did you put the note on the other car, or did your son-in-law?
I put it on the car that I hit, right
Yes.
next to me.
On the note was?
My name, phone number, and that I worked next door at Randall's, and the phone number.
You believe he took the note off the car you hit?
Yes.
Because they never contacted
Correct.
you. And there was damage to that car.
Yes.
You didn't do that, did you, Mr. Sims?
No, ma'am.
And shortly thereafter, Mr. Sims repossessed the car and sold it. You are suing, according to your complaint, for the whole value of the car.
Correct.
Which you're not entitled to. So let's be realistic. Let's say you're suing for the payments that you made on the car. April, May, June, July, and August, if you made the 5 months worth of payments.
Mm-hmm. And I did not miss a payment.
Okay.
I was told...
And that's your statement. I did not miss a payment. That was our agreement, and he had no right to take the car back,
Right.
and therefore I want the payments. How much were your payments each month?
Well, he told me $200 when we signed the original agreement. $200 a month, that included insurance.
How much was the insurance on the car, Mr. Sims?
$62.96.
Mr. Sims, how much did you pay for the car?
I purchased the car for $1,500. I put $600 of the repairs to the car because I purchased it damaged.
Okay, and you sold it when?
About 2 weeks ago.
And how much did you sell it for?
$3,200.
And how much did you pay to fix it as a result of the accident that your mother-in-law had?
What she did, she bent the door around to the fender.
Just tell me how much you paid to fix it.
$150, but it didn't fix it correctly. It just made the door open and close. It did not repair the car back to the original condition.
Say nothing. Yet. Say nothing yet.
All right.
So let's say you spent $2,200 on the car.
Correct.
You sold it for $3,200, giving you $1,000 profit, and your mother-in-law gave you $137 a month times 5 equals $685.35. So you got that too.
Correct.
So this is going to take care of your counterclaim, because you're suing her for $660 for miscellaneous damages incurred in relation to the car. That's your counterclaim. That's out, because you had no loss, sir. You have a profit.
All right, I understand.
You have a profit. So you suffered no damage. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Now, let's talk about what your mother-in-law wants.
Okay, I need to speak.
Now I'm ready.
He works at a body shop. He didn't pay nothing to have that car fixed.
I don't care whether he did or whether he didn't.
And he raised the payments.
That has nothing to do with you.
He raised my payments from
To
$200 to $230 a month.
When did he
Before
change?
I made the first payment, I'm sorry.
Just a second.
April.
Okay,
April
230.
11th. He raised it.
Is that right, sir?
Well,
is that right or wrong? She has proof. I'm sure she has checks or whatever. Is that
yeah,
correct?
we agreed on the raise of the payment. It was due to the insurance increase.
So we have 230 less 62.96, 167.04 times 5, $835.20. I'm going to give you 1 minute, Mr. Sims, to explain to me why you don't think that you owe your mother-in-law $835.20.
We had an agreement that she was going to purchase the car, like you said. But also in that agreement, no one was supposed to drive the car. Well, she was letting the other brother-in-law drive the car, which I had a witness see him in the car. Also, she took the car to Chicago against my wishes, taking it out of town. Our original agreement was that the car was mine. I purchased the car, put it in my name, I put the insurance in my name, I registered it in my name, and I told her, here's the car, this is what we're going to do. You pay the car to me each month, and then when the 13 months are over, I'll sign it over to you, do whatever you like. But in the time that you're driving the vehicle, the liability is on me with my insurance and everything covering me. I don't want anyone driving it. Drive it, do your errands, run back and forth to work. But I don't want the car leaving the state. I don't want the car going anywhere. Just keep it here in town.
Mrs. Sims, I read that. I read your defense, sir. However, your problem is you didn't take it back from her then.
Okay, you're right.
You took it back from her when she had an accident in the parking lot.
I didn't take it back from her. What she did, she was letting people drive the car. Then when she damaged the car, then when she damaged the vehicle, she brought the car to me and handed me the keys and wanted me to fix the vehicle. The daughter-in-law got upset with me and mad because I wouldn't file an insurance claim against my own policy to make me pay the increase over the next 3 years. And so they started feuding all over again. That's when I talked with her and I asked her, hey, we need to do something different here. Can you go get a loan for the balance due on the car? I can sign the car to you and we can quit all this fighting and carrying on and be done with it. You can do what you like. She agreed to go get her own loan.
Stop playing with the papers.
Sorry.
She went out, tried 2 or 3 different banks. No one would loan her the money because of her past history and her credit. It's so horrible she couldn't get it. So then she comes to me and says, you know what, I'm going to save the money for 6 weeks. Can you hold the car 6 weeks and I'll pay in full? 4 weeks go by. She calls my wife and says, I got $20 to my name. I can't pay it. I said, okay, what are we going to do now? She said, well, I'm just going to take you to court and sue you for my interest. I said, well, how about I give you all your money back? I offered to give her every penny she paid, including the insurance. She agreed to that too. Then on Sunday morning she calls and tells me no, she don't want to do that either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do.
And later today,
the vet told us there was no way the cat could have broken its leg in 5 places just from tossing off the side. She had to have been pretty much slammed to the ground to have broken it the way it did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Phyllis Sullivan says son-in-law Chip Sims repossessed her car for absolutely no reason. Chip says Phyllis has been irresponsible with the vehicle.
What you should have done, Miss Sullivan, is take him up on his offer. Because if he was willing to give you all the money that you paid in the car, including the insurance, you should have accepted it. Because for me, you're only going to get the money that you paid on the car itself, less the insurance.
Your Honor.
Yeah, what?
The car, I mean, this was a business contract. I couldn't get a loan because I filed bankruptcy.
Show me the business contract.
Right?
Show me the contract. Show me what it says. Show me the
Can I say
contract.
something? Shh. Nobody drove that car. His so-called character witness has a warrant for his arrest for hitting a police officer.
Would you please stop talking and hand me the contract?
I'm sorry.
You don't have one.
There's the contract. This is my thing from bankruptcy. And
no, listen to me. I asked you for the contract.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you ever have a conversation with your mother about somebody else driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me when.
Less than a month into the deal with the car.
Tell me
about
what
2
the
weeks
conversation
into it.
was.
I called her to let her know that we had spoken to a fellow family member who saw someone else driving the car. When I asked her about it, she proceeded to cry and say, I would never do something like that. You told me you didn't want anyone driving the car. I wouldn't do that. I would never hurt you or Chip like that. That's our agreement. I wouldn't let someone drive the car.
Okay. I have to make a determination as to what your damages are, Miss Sullivan.
Okay.
And by the way, Mr. Sims, I don't know whether or not you took off the note, if there was a note placed on the other car in the parking lot. If you did, that was a foul thing to do. Otherwise, I cannot understand why somebody would not have contacted you to have their car fixed. It's not reasonable that if you come out and you see somebody left their name and number and said, I hit your car,
right,
that they would not contact that person unless the note was taken off the car. In any event, I believe that you're entitled to, based upon this agreement, you're entitled to your money back, because this agreement says that if at any time I default upon my payments, Ronald has the right to take the car back, and I will forfeit any payments already made. She never defaulted on her payments, so you had no right to take her car back.
I didn't take the car back. She brought the car to me.
I don't believe that's true. And I believe that you made a profit. Now, just shit, quiet. I believe that you made a profit on the car. You don't have to make a really handsome profit. So instead of making $1,838, you're only going to make $1,000 worth of profit.
Because she'd already filed this suit once, which I had to hire an attorney to fight her the first time, that she never showed up to court. I don't have that.
Listen to me, Mr. Sims. Mr. Sims.
I've got the original court date and a dismissal from it.
Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Yes,
I don't have that as part of a counterclaim.
Right.
In any event, what I'm telling you is, you have the right, if you sold the car, you made a profit. Your profit was in excess of $1,000.
Well, I kept the car for 5 months waiting to solve this case, waiting to go to court, which we had our court date. She didn't appear.
What difference does it make, sir? What difference does it make as far as the profit that you made?
Right, exactly.
She put in $835.20. That's less the insurance over a 5-month period, and she's entitled to get it back under your contract. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just want them out of my life. I just want to go on about my own life and let her live her life, let me live mine.
He couldn't claim it on his insurance because he's got too many other insurance claims going on.
This isn't the first time in my life my mother's disappointed me.
My son-in-law, Chip, told me that I'm putting the stake in the family.
We warned her before she filed this suit to let her know she would never see me and she would never see her grandson again. She continued to do it, and I'm going to stand by my word.
I'm very hurt. I'm going to miss my daughter and my grandson.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Block versus Ulrich. Step forward, please.
Loan officer Chris Block and his wife Deanna are suing their neighbor, cleaning company vice president Steve Ulrich, for vet bills. The Blocks claim the son of Steve's girlfriend, 12-year-old Dustin Miller, threw their kitten down a flight of stairs.
Mr. and Mrs. Block, who's going to speak for you?
I will.
Okay. Neither one of you were home at the time of this incident with the kitten?
No.
Okay. Who was home?
Both kids, I believe, right? No, my son.
Very good. So why don't you have a seat, the two of you? Step up. Mr. Ulrich, this is not your son. You are his guardian, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You weren't there on the 3rd of October, is that right?
Yes.
You were not there?
I was not there.
Why don't you have a seat? Step up here, young man. What's your first name?
Devin.
Devin?
Yeah.
And yours?
Dustin.
All right, this is the complaint. On behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Block, they had a kitten, and they claim that Dustin purposely injured their kitten, causing the kitten's leg to break, and the kitten had to have leg reset. There were substantial medical bills, and they want the defendant to be responsible for those medical bills, you or his mother. The defendant says that Dustin was merely defending himself from this kitten. So let's see what happened. Devin?
Yes?
I want you to tell me what happened on October 3rd with your kitten. How old, first of all, tell me how old the kitten is.
When it happened?
Yes.
About 4 months.
And Dustin was a friend of yours?
Yeah.
Did he play over at your house often?
Yes.
Okay. Did Dustin like the kitten?
Yeah.
So tell me what happened that day.
Well, we were playing video games, and he said he's going to go to the bathroom. And then he comes back, and he says that I didn't really go to the bathroom. I went to go play with the kitten. Well, later that night, she was limping and crying, and you'd touch her leg, she would cry. And we asked him when he went to go play with the cat if he did something, but he said that she was biting him and that he just got angry and annoyed and he tossed her off.
Tell me what happened, Dustin.
I was playing with the kitten when it bit me, and then
Well, tell me exactly where you were when you were playing with the kitten and it bit you.
I was on the stairs.
What do you mean on the stairs?
Like, the kitten was on the stairs, so I was, like, sitting and petting it.
And the kitten bit you?
Yes.
And what happened after the kitten bit you?
Like, I pulled my hand back to get it off, and it fell off the stairs.
How did it fall off the stairs?
The stairs is not that wide, so when I was sitting down, I was kind of near the edge of this
where the stairwell would be.
Isn't there a railing?
No.
Is there a railing?
No, Your Honor. We removed it after we moved in. I have some pictures.
I'd like to see it.
And there are some pictures of after pin was removed.
Oh, I see. So there is no railing. Who else was there when he confessed?
My mom and my sister.
Well, I'd like to hear from you. Yes. Tell me about the discussion that you had with Dustin that evening.
Well, at first when we'd asked, because I saw the cat was limping and nobody would say anything, so I kept asking the kids over and over again what had happened. Dustin was kind of nervous, and Devin told me that he had left the room, and then it told me about him playing with the cat. So I said, Dustin, what happened? Just tell us what happened. And then he said that when he was playing with her, that she started to bite him. So at first he said he went like this and just threw her down the stairs. Then I said, well, there had to have been more than that. So I kept asking him, and then he said, well, he went like this over the edge. And he said, so then he threw her that way.
So he didn't say he picked her up and threw her over the side?
No, but...
Okay. I just want to know what he said.
Okay.
You're 12?
Yeah.
And you're 12?
Yeah.
Well, they're certainly old enough to be home alone by themselves. So I can't fault you for not being there to supervise, but I also am not going to make an order that his parents be responsible for the medical bills for your cat. I mean, I don't think that he purposely did anything to hurt your cat. The cat nips because it's a kitten. But again, he's 12 years old. He doesn't have the intellect, you know, of somebody who's an adult. And he wanted to get the cat off. So let's say he took his hand and went like that, and the cat went over on the side as a reflex. There's nothing more than a reflex to get the cat off. You still think that he's responsible to pay for the vet bills for the cat?
Only because the vet told us there was no way the cat could have broken its leg in 5 places just from tossing off the side. She had to have been pretty much slammed to the ground to have broken it the way it did.
Did you ever have any indication that this young man would do anything to hurt an animal?
Well, the fact that he knew she was hurt and went back to play video games like nothing had happened.
Well, that's not a good thing, right? Tell me why you did that.
Well, first of all, I didn't know the cat was hurt.
Just a second. After the cat goes over, whether you went like this to get the cat off you because the cat was biting you, or whether you pushed the cat down the stairs to get the cat off of you, you had to have sat there for a second and watched what happened when the cat got up, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you see the cat limping?
No.
Well, I don't necessarily believe that, Dustin. When you came back inside, did you tell Devin what had happened with the cat?
No.
Why not?
Because I didn't really know. I didn't really think it was like a huge deal, because when the cat fell, it wasn't moving afterwards when I went up, back upstairs.
It wasn't moving?
No, but...
Well, weren't you worried if it wasn't moving? Dustin?
It was standing.
Do you have an animal at home? You have a dog or a cat?
Bird.
What if your bird was bothering somebody by chirping, and the person had a headache, and it went over and it rattled the cage really hard, and the bird fell to the ground and broke a leg? Would you be angry?
Yes.
Would you think that the person ought to tell you that that's what happened?
Yes.
Do you think that you would have any responsibility, or that they would have any responsibility?
Like, they would have some responsibility, but we would also have some, because it was our bird that would got on the person's nerves.
The birds do what birds do. Yes. Birds sing. Kittens nip. And if you don't like it when the kitten is nipping you, then you don't play with the kitten. But Mrs. Block, I don't think that he did this on purpose. And I don't think that his parents had any indication that he had a predisposition to cruelty to animals, which in my judgment would make them responsible. If you have children in your house and you choose to leave 12-year-olds in your house unsupervised, you're pretty much responsible for what goes on there. So I'm sorry, but your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 453 on the calendar in the matter of Magliazzo versus Conroy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Magliazzo, this is your son. Tell me his name.
Dylan Magliazzo.
Dylan. All right, he's going to stand right behind you. According to your complaint, your son was run over by the defendant in a parking lot.
Right.
Is there somebody who can take care of him outside?
My brother.
Well, do you want to take him outside and let your brother take care of him?
Mommy.
Good. According to your complaint, the defendant ran over your son's leg in a parking lot. He was in a truck, and you want him to pay your medical bills and for your son's pain and suffering.
Right.
Mr. Conroy said, in effect, you should have been watching him more closely as he was running around the parking lot. I might have responded somewhat differently, Mr. Conroy. What kind of truck were you driving that day, sir?
A Dodge pickup truck.
Big truck.
Half-ton.
And your son suffered no broken legs, is that right, madam?
Right.
If a half-ton truck ran over a 2-year-old's leg, which according to you happened, that child would not have walked out of this courtroom today.
Well, he did.
Impossible. Impossible for him to have run over the child's leg with a half-ton truck and not had a broken bone. And if he did, he was a very lucky little boy. Very lucky. So if he was so lucky, what I want to know from you is, why are you here?
First of all, when he did hit my son...
Just a second. Let's go back. So you're really going to go through with this. You're in a parking lot. Is that right? What were you doing in the parking lot?
My son wasn't running around
What were you doing in the parking lot?
Standing out front. My son wanted to watch
Shh. You were standing out front of what?
the parking lot where my son's father lives.
You have a picture of where this happened?
I do.
Can I see it, please? What time of the year was this?
August.
So there was no snow on the ground like there is in this picture. I want you to have her take a pen, Bird, and mark down where she was standing with the child at first, and then where the child was allegedly run over by the defendant. Where she was standing?
Right here.
And where the child was run over by the...
Right here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's where she was, and that's where she says the child was hit.
So you tell me what happened, madam. You're standing outside the parking lot with your son.
Right. And my son wanted to watch the electric company. They were putting power lines there. He wanted to see the big trucks. So we're standing out there. My son's...
How many people? You, your son, and who else?
10 or 12 other people.
And were there other children?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My son had walked away from me, and I went to go grab him. And Mr. Conroy pulled in the parking lot and then reversed his truck back. Obviously didn't look in his mirrors to see that my son was behind his truck. Hit my son in his head, knocked him over, then was on top of my son's leg. Me and my son's father were screaming and yelling, banging on the man's truck to get off my son's leg. He just looked at us like he didn't know what was going on or anything. Like, it's not even that he didn't know what was going on. We told him, you're on my son's leg, get off my son's leg, and he just looked at us like we were out of it. And finally, after the electric company, the guys from the electric company ran over and everybody ran over, I think he finally realized he was on my son's leg. Well, he pulled his truck up, got off my son's leg, not coming over to see if my son's okay, if he hurt my son, not asking.
When he got off your son's leg, who picked up your son?
I did.
Then did you put him down on the ground?
No.
You didn't let him walk to see if he was okay?
Oh, I picked him up, yeah, and he couldn't even stand on his leg. His leg was like that swollen.
Mm-hmm.
I then immediately took him to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm. Why weren't you watching him more carefully?
I was watching him.
No, you weren't.
He obviously wasn't watching where he's going because he knows kids are in that parking lot every day.
Listen to me, madam. You weren't watching him carefully enough.
So that gives him the right to not...
Listen to me, madam. You weren't watching him carefully enough. How old was he?
2.
And you're in a parking lot, is that right?
In front of a parking lot.
You're in a parking lot.
Right.
Now, I have 8 grandchildren, and I'm still have sufficient brain power to remember when my children were little, and I had a 2-year-old, or when I'm walking around with one of my 2-year-old grandchildren in a parking lot, they hold my
He did have my hand.
He did have your hand?
Yeah.
Oh, well then, shh, quiet. He did have your hand. then is what you're telling me that when Mr. Conroy hit him and knocked him over, you were holding onto his hand?
No.
So you weren't holding his hand?
No. Before.
Right. What I'm saying to you, madam, is when I'm in a parking lot with my 2-year-old grandchild, or I see my children walking with their children when we pull into a parking lot, we're going someplace, they run out, grab the hand, because they know they're not allowed to cross a street without holding somebody's hand. They're not allowed to be in a parking lot without holding somebody's hand.
Right, but
you weren't holding his hand.
I mean, if you drive a truck, don't you look in your mirrors to see if there's anybody behind you?
I'm not saying that he's without fault. I'm saying to me, you seem to think it's all his fault, and it's not.
Oh, I know it's
You're the parent. It's primarily your fault. Now, should he have been watching where he was going? Absolutely. And should he have been more careful if he saw a lot of other people there? Absolutely. And sometimes there's a little child dart out so that even if you are careful, you can miss him? Absolutely. You're not supposed to miss him. That's your only job.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How am I to know if he was drunk?
How am I to know you weren't drunk? Only a parent who might be drunk or under the influence of something would let a 2-year-old march around by himself in a parking lot. That's what you did. That's what you did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amy Magliazzo says her 2-year-old son Dylan was run over by Michael Conroy. Michael says the boy was running around in the parking lot of a bar.
Your only job and his father's only job that day was to make sure that your 2-year-old was holding on to an adult's hand in a parking lot. Right?
Right.
Right. And if you weren't, so that you were acting irresponsibly as a parent, and if you're lucky enough to have gotten away with a warning from God that this is what can happen to you. You can lose your child if you're not more careful, because he wasn't hurt, because he clearly walked out of here.
He has sleeping problems.
That's your problem.
No, it's not.
Well, whose is it? His?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that's what a lawyer told you. Did you go to see a lawyer?
Yeah.
Now, what'd the lawyer tell you? Pretty much the same thing as what I'm telling you? That's why you're here. Well, he says you have a child in a parking lot. You're supposed to hold their hand.
Does that give him the right to not see?
It's not a matter of right. Don't you seem to get it? He's driving in a truck, and I'm not saying he's without blame. You walked in here saying to me it's all his fault. He ran over my child. He didn't care. He was callous. We kept knocking on the window. You think that this man had a predetermined position to knock your son over, a 2-year-old over, run him over, and when you were banging at the door to tell him to get off your son, that he said, hell with them, I'm just going to keep my truck on his legs?
No, because how am I to know if he was drunk?
How are you to know? I don't know. How am I to know you weren't drunk?
Oh, I wasn't
Only a
drunk.
parent who might be drunk or under the influence of something would let a 2-year-old march around by himself in a parking lot. That's what you did. That's what you did. Now let me see the medical bills and let me see the report from the police.
One of the medical bills was already paid.
Good.
By his
That's what
insurance
you're supposed to
company.
do. Then I'll get to you, Mr. Conroy. Now, when did the police contact you, Mr. Conroy?
About an hour and a half to 2 hours after the accident.
Why did you go home?
I waited around about 45 minutes to an hour. Police to come, talk to the father. I said, if anybody comes, contact me.
Okay. Final reports. No fracture, no dislocation, and everything else is normal there. Then we go to 3 days later. They also found nothing wrong with the child at that point, and you took the child in there because you said he was having trouble sleeping.
He was waking up crying, saying the truck.
The reason that you could not get a lawyer to take your case is because your son was not injured. Not every act requires people to take the matter a step further and bring on a lawsuit. You should feel, as I indicated before to you, very, very lucky that despite what could have happened to your son, because you were not vigilant in taking care of him, and because Mr. Conroy probably should have been more careful when he was driving his truck when he saw other kids and people around in the parking lot, despite that, your son was not hurt. The only thing that was reported by you was 3 days later, you went back to the hospital and you said he's having trouble sleeping. That's why you could not get a lawyer to take your case, because in order for there to be liability, there has to be an injury, and there was none. Now, it's possible that your son's going to have, even at his age, a bad recollection for a while about what happened when he was knocked down by a truck. That's possible, but it will pass.
Right.
He was 2 years old.
But it's a...
And it will pass.
But it's a sleeping disorder. It's a post-traumatic sleeping disorder.
Let me explain something to you, madam. Don't tell me what it is. Are you a psychiatrist?
No, but that's what the doctors...
I'm not interested in what you tell me that the doctors say, because that's not what it says here. And I'm telling you, you're going to have another baby?
Yes.
This is your second child?
Third.
Third child. How old are you?
19.
19. I would suggest that you pay more careful attention to your children at age 19. It's your job to take care of them. At 19, you shouldn't have 3 children to begin with. If you have to take care of them.
I do take care of my kids.
And not put the responsibility of taking care of your children onto somebody else. It was not his responsibility to watch out for your child in the parking lot that day. It was your responsibility and his child's father. And the fact that there was almost an accident, a tragic accident, because your son could have been really hurt or killed or worse, is not his fault. It's your fault. He is partially responsible, and if the child was hurt, I might have found him partially responsible for the child's medical bills.
So it's okay.
But he was not hurt. And for that, you should say, thank God, and not bring a lawsuit. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I screamed for him to get off my son's leg, and he just looked at me.
When I did hear him, I did stop. That's why I didn't run over the child.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Shrek versus Hagar. Step forward, please.
26-year-old employment specialist Catherine Schreck is suing her former lover, railroad conductor Brian Hager, for an unpaid loan to get back on his feet.
Ms. Schreck, the defendant used to be your boyfriend. According to you, you made a loan to him in the amount of $1,000. Mr. Hager says that you did, in fact, give him $1,000. It was just that, a gift, not a loan. When was this $1,000 check, and it was a check, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Given to Mr. Hager?
The check was written on January 22nd, 2002, and it was cashed on January 24th, 2002.
Tell me the circumstances of the check, Ms. Schreck.
He was unemployed at the time.
Tell me of the circumstances of the check.
The check.
Ms. Schreck.
Mr. Hager was unemployed at the time, and he was also experiencing other financial hardships. And
how long had you been dating him at the time?
Approximately 3 weeks. He had disclosed that his ex-girlfriend was possibly pregnant and that he was the father. At that point, I had determined that I did not want to further the relationship beyond a friendship. However, I felt bad for him at the situation that he was in at the time. He had expressed that he was waiting for his tax return to come in.
Just a second. So if his ex-girlfriend thought she was pregnant, what did that have to do with money?
He didn't need money for that. It was just added stress in his life.
Who cares?
I cared. He was my friend at the time. I felt bad.
What were
for
you
him.
doing?
I'm a facilitator for San Bernardino Jobs and Employment Services Department. I teach welfare recipients how to get jobs.
Good. Oh, you should have taught him. What kind of work were you doing at the railroad, sir?
I'm a conductor.
And you were let go?
No, ma'am. I was just laid off temporarily due to a slowdown.
For how long?
6 months.
And what did you do during that 6-month period?
Things are hard everywhere, so I just I collected railroad unemployment. Which
how much?
It's $1,000 a month.
And where were you living?
I own a home.
And you have a mortgage?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the mortgage?
Mortgage was $1,700.
So you were really short. Where'd you get the other money from? Did you have savings?
Yes, ma'am. I had money saved up in my bank account.
Now, you tell her that you're having some financial difficulties, and so what did you do?
So I offered to give him a loan.
What did you say to him? What did he say to you?
I said, my father just gave me $1,000 for Christmas. I just received my student financial aid. I don't need it at the time, but I will need it in several months. He said that he was expecting his tax return, and as soon as he got that, he would pay me back.
Okay,
so
where were you?
Span of 2 months.
Where were you when you had this conversation with him?
At his home.
Remember what date it was? Was it the 22nd of January?
Yes, it was.
That's not true, Your Honor. When she had given me the check...
Tell me about why you would tell this lady that you are having any financial trouble anyway.
Well, she could just tell that I was stressed. We were upstairs in my room, we were just talking, watching TV, And she just, you know, she said, what's the matter? I said, well, I'm stressed out right now because, you know, I'm having some financial problems with being laid off. She said, well, I got plenty of money. Why don't you just let me help you out? And I said, no, it'll be okay. You know, I'm going to be going back to work. We talked about it for a little bit longer, and once again I said, no, it'll be all right. And I went downstairs, got a drink of water. I was coming back upstairs. She met me halfway. She said, I'm going to go home. I have to go to work in the morning. I left you a surprise upstairs in your room. And I went back upstairs to my room, and there was a check for $1,000.
So what'd you do?
I called her cell phone and said, why'd you leave me this money? She said, because I care about you, and I want to see, you know, I want to see you be okay. She said, just consider it a gift.
I don't know if she said that. Listen to me. Shh. Are you her mother? You didn't hear the story that he just told? That's more real than what she told me. So you can laugh all you like. That's pretty much what happened, except just consider it a gift. That she didn't say. Don't go overboard, Mr. Hager. When you're ahead of the game, don't stretch the truth. The truth was pretty good for a while. Probably was a gift. I don't believe that you asked her for a loan, that there was a repayment schedule. I mean, I don't believe any of that. You have to understand that, Ms. Schreck. But now I have a question for you, because I was interested. When I wanted to hear what you had to say, Mr. Hager, I believe you, that that's how it came about.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's what she would do. And she said, I cared about him being stressed. That's what girls do when they're in like. But then she was no longer in like with you, and you were no longer in like with her, and then we got the $1,000 that you've already spent, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you look like a sort of responsible young man. How old are you?
29.
And you own your own home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it didn't work out with her. So wouldn't a responsible man of 29 years old, a homeowner, you own your own car, I'm sure you have a bank account, you told me you lived off savings.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? But then you went back to work. Why didn't you start giving her back this money?
She had told me it was a gift.
Mr. Hager, she's not your mother, is she?
No, ma'am.
She's not a sister. She's not even your best friend, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So then what a moral person does is say, you helped me out, I needed it, we're not together, I want to start paying you back this $1,000, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't that what a moral person does?
Yes, ma'am.
So you do want to be a moral person, don't you, Mr. Hager?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step. Your Honor, this is case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of King versus Collier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss King, according to what I've read, the defendant was your former boyfriend. First, you say about a little more than a year ago, he had an accident with your car, which you paid for, which he said he would take care of. Then you claim to have expended a certain amount of money for remodeling of a condo that he had purchased, also with the agreement that he would pay you back. When you broke up, somehow you got him to sign a promissory note for all this money, or I think $3,200. Mr. Collier says the following. He said that you caused the accident to the car yourself, that he never borrowed any money from you, that the remodeling that you did to the condo, which had belonged to his uncle, was your own choice. The only reason he says that he signed this promissory note was that you were holding some money of his that you had gotten your hands on. You told me you wouldn't give him the money unless he signed the note. So he signed the note under duress. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
When was this accident with the car?
It was back in July of 2001.
And tell me about the accident with the car.
We were leaving a parking garage in Ybor City, and we were looking for the ticket that you give the attendant whenever you leave, and we couldn't find it, and we had pulled in already, so he went to back up, and as he backed up, he tore the whole bumper off the front of the car.
So it's the bumper that you're talking about?
Correct.
You remember that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember it that way, though.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Okay. So do you have insurance?
Yes.
So did the insurance cover the damage?
No, my deductible was $500, and it only cost $335.
Okay. Did you agree to pay that?
I never agreed to pay that, Your Honor.
So give me your version of the events. You're driving, the bumper comes off the car. How did the bumper come off the car?
I actually wasn't driving. We had gone to the
You
parking...
just told me you were driving.
Oh, I was in the driver's seat. We had just backed out of the parking garage spot that I was in, that she had parked in.
Yeah.
And the angle that I pulled back, that, you know, having no idea how she had left the wheel cocked, it caught on the edge of the wall and it ripped her bumper off.
The wall didn't move, sir. The car moved.
I agree, Your Honor.
Good. Okay. So that's $335. Did you ever say that you would pay to have that bumper repaired?
No, Your Honor. The reason I agreed or told her I wouldn't pay her back for that is the fact
Would
that...
or would not?
Would not. Is because she was drunk. Too drunk to drive, asked me to drive, handed me the keys, and that's the only reason I was driving. I was trying to do her a favor.
Is it true that you gave him the keys to the car because you had been drinking?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Don't drink. What's next?
I had loaned him, actually first he started living with me and he agreed that he would pay 1/3 of the rent and 1/3 of the utility bills.
For how many months?
Just for 1 month.
And what's the rent?
It was $800 and we divided it and he would have paid $266 for the rent and it was $74 for 1/3 of the utility bills. And he also borrowed money to pay his car payments and he borrowed money to pay his cell phone bills.
What was his car payment?
I don't have that written down exactly.
$158.73, Your Honor.
And I paid it quite a few times. And I probably have paid it more times than I had even.
I can't keep track of that. What kind of a way is that to have a loan, madam?
Because I was dating him, and that's things that you do.
And then finally, we have the stuff for the apartment. Let's hear about the stuff for the apartment.
It was for a condo that his uncle owned, and we had agreed that he would move in. I was still living with my roommate, so I couldn't move out at the time. And I said that we agreed that whenever time came that my lease would be up, that I would buy the place from his uncle, and that's why I would do the remodeling, and that he would also pay for that.
That you would buy the place from his uncle?
Mm-hmm.
You?
Yes, later.
You, not the two of you, you would buy the place for his uncle, so you were going to remodel it for when you bought it?
Correct.
Had you discussed that with his uncle?
No.
Just with him?
Just with him.
Well, what made you think his uncle wanted to sell it?
He discussed him buying it from his uncle.
He owner leased it to me, Your Honor. So he was selling it to me.
And you discussed selling it to her?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor, yes.
And that's why she decided to remodel it. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
And then you decided not to sell it to her. Is that right?
No, she left, Your Honor.
Or she left. Whatever. Listen, I'm telling you this, Miss King. I'm unimpressed with all of these loans that you claim. Without a promissory note, the one that you say you have,
yes, I do, Your
you
Honor.
wouldn't get any money. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you remodel this place in anticipation of you purchasing it, so you were really remodeling it for yourself, there was no loan to him of that money. You remodeled it because you were going to live there. That was your foolishness. You don't remodel a place until the title of it is in your name.
Correct.
You want to do it fast? You do it fast, that's your problem. So now I'm going to take a look at the promissory note. Okay, so I have a promissory note for $3,200, sir, that you signed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, let me hear the circumstances surrounding you signing this promissory note.
She left on the 4th, and when she left, she had some cash in my
4th of?
March. When she did so, she didn't realize, I think, that she had some cash with her that I needed for my mortgage payment due on the 7th.
Mortgage for what?
To my uncle.
You mean your rent?
Well, he's taking it off the principal, so he's selling it. He's holding the note for me. But the mortgage payment was due on the 7th, and on the 4th, she left with my cash. I couldn't raise the $350.
How did she get your cash?
I was having her hold it for me. I think we were going to deposit it in the bank.
But you speak slowly, sir. I can't follow you. I'm old.
Yes, Your Honor. She had my cash with her because she was holding it for me so that I would not spend it.
How much cash was she holding?
$350.
Okay, go ahead.
And on the 8th, a day after my mortgage was late, she agreed to go ahead and give me the cash, but only if I would sign the promissory note. Since I know their means of getting the cash that quickly, I went ahead and signed the note.
Did you have his money?
Yes, Your Honor. He had been staying at my place and left it.
And so you took the money and said you want your money back? Is that right?
Well, it was in my...
Oh, you want your money back? You're going to sign this note?
Correct, Your Honor.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
That's duress. You can't do that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today...
She wanted you to get out of the car?
Yes, that way she could fight me. She grabbed my windshield wiper. She smashed it because she was really mad and broke it. And then with her both fists, she was really pissed, boom, then my car.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry King says her ex-boyfriend, Keith Collier, owes for damage to her car and unpaid loans. Keith says he owes her nothing.
As I said to you before, Miss King, but for the promissory note, I would find that there was never a loan made. With regard to the automobile, you were drunk, which is the reason he drove. He's backing out of a spot, not purposefully.
He wasn't backing out of a spot. He was backing out of the actual toll booth that he had pulled into. I did not pull into there, Your Honor.
Whatever it was. But for the fact that the two of you had broken up, there's not a question in my mind that we would not be here over this bumper damage to the car. When you drive a car, you drive someplace, you go out, you're not supposed to get drunk so you can't drive at home. Okay? I don't know how much he had been drinking that evening, whether he had been drinking more than you or less than you. I assume that he had been drinking some too, which means that you're both stupid. Then we come to the bills. Bills that you say, well, he said he would pay me some rent, and then I paid for his car payment. I paid a lot of times. I paid his car payment more than once. I'm not sure about how many times. I don't get involved with that. This is a court. You're supposed to say, on September 1st, 1999, I paid a car payment. On September 16th, the year 2000, I made a car payment for him. I have that all written down here. This is his car payment. He asked me to please advance it, and if I would, he would pay me back in a month. That's not what this is all about. This is about a boyfriend and girlfriend situation where you give him money. I don't know whether he ever gave you money.
No, Your Honor.
Probably not. Well, that means that you're not too. Right? The only thing that you thought that you did that was clever was having him do the promissory note for all this money that you thought he owed you. The only problem is you forced him to sign it. You were withholding his property. And if you withheld his property and said, unless you sign this note, I'm not going to give you the property, that is duress. So you get zippo, nada, nothing. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just hopefully no one will ever have to deal with him the way I had to deal with him.
I'm glad to see that justice was served.
Because he's a loser and he will scam anyone out of anything.
I feel bad that Ms. King feels like she was ripped off and misled by me.
Every week he would say that he would pay me the money, and then he would say, oh, I spent it on this or I spent it on that, and never came through with it.
I'm sorry that I had to come to a court battle. She could have settled it outside very easily.
Don't give money to anyone unless you have anything signed, and don't deal with idiot con artists like that.
Worked out pretty well for me, didn't it?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Berrios versus Rivera, step forward, please.
15-year-old student Wandalise Berrios and her mother, social worker Maria Berrios, are suing Wandalise's boyfriend, 18-year-old Eric Rivera, and his mother, business owner Miriam Rivera. Maria says Miriam ran her off the road and vandalized her car.
Miss Berrios, is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. And is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
You sit down. Miss Berrios, it's your claim that Mrs. Rivera vandalized your car with you in it. Is that right?
That's correct.
And Miss Rivera says that she was angry, but she did not, in fact, damage your car at all. Now, what I gather is that your daughter was dating her son.
Correct.
Right? These two.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And it's your claim that Mrs. Rivera didn't like the idea of her son dating your daughter. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't happy with this relationship?
Correct.
So why don't you tell me what happened on the day that your car was allegedly vandalized?
On July 3rd, her son called my daughter, and they wanted to meet us in the fireworks.
Okay, so it was July 4th weekend, there were fireworks.
On the 3rd,
and
yes.
Did he come to your house, or did you pick him up?
And we'd meet him in the fireworks in Altamont.
Is that right? You met where at a park or something where they were having fireworks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You watched the fireworks, and then you were ready to go home?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Good. Now tell me what happened.
Okay, when we dropped him off in his house, and the defendant, she drove in front of my car, and she started yelling, threatening, and she tried to break my window, and her son came up and went right there in front of us.
Just a second. She's in her car, you're in your car?
Correct.
Did she get out of her car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get out of your car?
No, Your Honor.
You stayed in your car, but she pulled up in front of you, cut you off?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And got out of her car. What about her son? Did he get out of the car?
We dropped him already. He was in his house.
Okay, so he came out of the house.
He ran out of the house, and he stepped between the defendant and I, right there by the window, because she tried to break the window with her
elbow. And you're sitting in the driver's seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Then what did she do?
And I did not respond to her request because the prior incident that I have with her, that she assaults me. So I did not respond to her request. And
she wanted you to get out of the car?
Yes, that way she could fight me. So I did not get out of the car, and I told my daughter, let's leave here, because prior to that, she grabbed since I don't open the window, she grabbed my windshield wiper. She smashed it because she was really mad and broke it. And then with her both fists, she was really pissed and boom, then my car. So at that time, I told my daughter, let's get out of here, let's report it. I went on reverse, I left the scene. She continued following me to my house. That's what I found out. I went to the police report, and I reported. And I put an injunction on Miss Rivera.
You have photographs of the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please? Are you two young people still dating each other or not?
Yes.
So I assume you don't want to be here?
No.
You don't want to be here?
No.
You don't want to be here. Is that right?
No.
Okay. Okay. Ready to hear you.
Well, the incident on actually the 3rd of the morning of the 4th of July happened all because my son and his girlfriend, Diana, was attending my child who's mentally handicapped and my daughter, which is 11 years old. This lady had the audacity to go out there and pick him up, left my two children alone with another 17-year-old child when he and her were supposed to watch my children, where my son walked away and got lost in the park where the fireworks were. And it was almost 2 in the morning by the time I was able to pick up my children from the park in the traffic. And when I got home, she was just dropping him off without no permission of mine, no knowledge where my son was. And I knew he was with her because his girlfriend, Diana,
That's not Diana.
No, that's not Diana.
He has 2 girlfriends.
Yes. And it might be 3, but right now 2. Anyway, when I got home, yes, I was very furious, capable of, even if she would have got out of the car, I would have smacked her really good, because how a mother could leave a child who is mentally handicapped.
And just slap him.
Well, I did that.
Why don't you slap him? What are you slapping her for?
Because she's the adult. She should have left him where he was.
Just a second. You're not claiming she picked him up at your house.
No, she went behind my back as a parent and picked him up in the park.
How do you know that? That she went behind your back? How is she supposed to read your mind about what arrangements you had with your son?
Because she knew.
How does she know?
Because he told her.
Oh, baloney. But you're assuming that.
True.
You're assuming that.
True.
How tall are you?
6 foot.
6 feet. Healthy, right?
As far as I know.
How old are you?
18.
And an adult. And if he's 17, he was still 6 feet tall and very healthy.
Yes.
Right? Are you suggesting to me, Miss Rivera, that your son went to Miss Berrios and said, I'm supposed to be minding my 2 siblings, but I'm going to blow them off and leave them here by themselves. So could you please give me a ride home? Is that what you think he said to her? That's what you're assuming, because you want to be mad at somebody. Instead of being mad at him, you're mad at her. What are you mad at her for?
Because it's not the first incident that this happens.
Put the blame where it's supposed to be. By the way, where were you July 3rd?
I was at my house.
Why weren't you taking care of your children?
Because he was old enough to do it, and he wanted to go to Red Hot and Boom.
He was old enough to do it because you thought he was responsible enough
Correct.
to do it. Clearly, he wasn't.
Well, I learned my lesson in that part.
So that was your error in judgment. You don't take that out on her car.
I did not touch her car, ma'am.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. There is no question in my mind that you broke the windshield wipers off her car and smashed down with your fist on her car, causing a dent. Absolutely no question in my mind. And I'm not going to put these 2 young people in a position of having to testify, because it just seems unfair to have to do that. I don't know if this is the girlfriend you want to be with or one of your other 2. That's your business. By the way, he probably does have other girlfriends. You understand that?
Yes.
Let me see the estimates of the damage to the car. Do you work?
Yes. No, ma'am.
What do you do?
I'm a student.
Where?
Lighthouse Christian Academy.
I have 3 estimates, and the cheapest estimate to do the work is $1321.89. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You know that they're still dating?
Yes.
You resigned yourself to that?
Actually, as long as he lives under my roof and I pay for his school, he has to abide by my laws.
Which is?
They want to see themselves, they could see themselves out of her house. I don't want him in her house because they're in illegal activities. And if he's in her house and there is a bus in her house and my son is put in jail for something that he haven't done, I'm going to hold her responsible for my son's
Why don't you hold
liberty.
him responsible? He's 18 years old. He's 6 feet 1. You think that she can keep him out of her house?
Yes. She don't have to open the door.
Miss Rivera, you rely on him a lot?
Yes, I do.
I assume that you did rely on him a lot.
Yes, I'm a single parent. I raised them by myself.
You got to corral him. If you can't do it, don't expect other people to do it. If he doesn't follow your directions, and what you're saying is as long as he's living under my roof, breathing the air that I pay for, turning on the electricity that I pay for, eating the food that I pay for, then go out, get yourself a job, live on your own. You can do whatever you want to do.
That's right.
Your problem is that he is of help to you in the house taking care of your 13-year-old son.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,321.89. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, on the case number 336 on the calendar in the matter of Sierakowski versus Doe. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Sierakowski, you were running some sort of a baby contest or baby pageant.
Yes.
And the defendant entered her baby. She wrote out a check. Her baby entered the contest. Her baby didn't win. She stopped payment on the check. You want your money, right?
Yes, I do.
The defendant says that the contest was rigged, so she stopped payment on the check. Tell me about this pageant.
All right, Your Honor, this whole case is about this lady who has a major...
Shh. Pay attention to my question. Then we'll get along just fine. I said, tell me about the pageant. I'll figure out what this lady has or has not.
All right. It is a national pageant system. We did have a baby contest in it. Her baby did participate.
Where is this pageant or contest held?
It was held in Springfield, Illinois.
How many babies were entered?
There were 9 babies all told, 5 in her age division.
So tell me how it works. You advertised and you said there's going to be a baby contest. These are the age categories. And it says that you have to send in a fee for the contest?
Yes, you do.
Okay, and how much is that fee?
The deposit was $150. She pays the remainder of any fees when she reaches the pageant.
Now, what happens if they win this contest in Springfield?
If they win the contest, they win money.
How much?
She could have won a $500 bond. Actually, she could have won a $2,000 bond as an overall winner.
Overall winner
of one baby of the 2 age divisions.
Okay, so she sent in her $150.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
And then you travel to Springfield.
Correct.
And how much then does she have to pay once she gets to Springfield?
Depending on the events that she entered would decide how much more that she did owe.
What do you mean? I thought she just entered one baby contest.
There's several different categories.
Like what?
Photogenic, there is playwear, there is sleepwear, there are the prettiest eyes, hair, fashion.
And what do you win if you win the prettiest pajamas?
You can win a plaque, a laser engraved plaque.
A plaque?
Yes.
And each time she enters one of these little contests for the baby who looks nicest in their pajamas, there's an additional fee. Is that what you're telling me?
There is a fee for each thing that you do, yes, ma'am.
Sounds like a good business to me. And how many babies, for instance, entered in that contest if you have there the best-looking baby in pajamas?
They all entered.
All 9 of them?
Yes.
And how much was the cost of each one of them entering that?
Well, it was $35 per category for that.
And how many of these little categories, eyes, pajamas, playwear, how many of those are there?
There are 5 for the babies.
And for that they get a plaque or a certificate if they win each one?
They could get a trophy.
Or a trophy.
The people who win money, crowns, and banners, and the big trophies are the queens.
I'm just talking about the things other than cash. So this is for you a business?
Absolutely, it's a business.
We're not talking about the baby who wins this contest gets to do some sort of a pilot for a movie. This is just pure ego on the part of parents. Is that right?
I would say so, yes.
Absolutely. It's just pure ego. Okay, Miss Doe, now I'll hear you.
Okay, we did do the pageant. My daughter was offered the prizes of the state queens, the savings bond that originated from her state pageant that I attended in Michigan. That's the only reason we attended her nationals, to receive the savings bond. We went to nationals, we did the pageant, everything was fine, except for she didn't have the savings bond. She said she would overnight it to me. So I started on my way home when I started looking over Lily's scores, which were amazing. So I called the hotel.
Just 1 second. So you tell me she owes you a savings bond?
Correct.
Do you owe her a savings bond from a previous pageant?
No, ma'am, I don't owe her a savings bond. She did receive the savings bond. And, in fact, I didn't owe her the bond. The Michigan director did. She overnighted the bond to me. I told Miss Doe the day of the crowning. It hadn't arrived yet, but it was coming, and I would send it to her.
Did you send the bond?
Yes, ma'am, I sent the bond.
Well, I assume then you have the number of the bond, that you can trace it. Now, how much was the bond for?
$100, Your Honor.
It's a $100 bond. We're not talking about a lot of money. But if you didn't send the bond to her, and you were supposed to, that you have to do. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Good. Perfect. I don't want to see anything.
This is the letter she received with the bond, and it tells about the bond. So if she didn't get the bond, why didn't she speak up? I got this letter, but I didn't get the bond with it?
That's what she says.
She's lying.
That's what she
Please read
says.
that.
That's what she says. If she did not get the bond, she has to get the bond. All right, but let's go on with why you didn't pay the rest of these fees.
I proceeded on my way home. I didn't check the scores. I just figured, okay, my daughter placed fourth. She's done that before. She's had her wins. She's had her losses. Well,
how many contests have you entered with her?
Beauty pageants, I've done maybe about a dozen of them.
Why?
They have prizes up to $10,000 savings bonds. It's always worth a shot. But anyways, I started checking the scores on the way home. My daughter has amazing scores, 9.8, 9.9. For instance, sleepwear, she got two 9.8s and a 9.9. Possible 30 points, she got, what would that be, 29.5. I've consulted with 2 other directors who said it's not physically possible 4 babies scored higher than a 29.5 out of 30 possible. Judges don't give straight 10s and straight 9.9s. I called her on the way home twice. Once she was in the pageant still, once I left a voicemail. She didn't return them. I contacted the state director who said to try contacting the parents. Maybe the parents will tell me the daughter's scores.
That's not true.
Well,
don't speak.
I heard from 2 parents. One.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Don't give me hearsay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. I tried emailing her twice when I didn't receive the bond. Didn't get any results. So I filed a complaint with PayPal, the one I paid her through. They tried contacting her. She ignored them also and refunded my money because they couldn't reach her. They gave her 10 days to respond to the notice.
Okay, just one second. PayPal. What's PayPal?
It's an online computer where you can pay them through your debit, credit.
They didn't have anything to do with the bond. You told PayPal that you didn't receive merchandise.
That would be the savings bond.
You wasn't supposed to receive any merchandise from me.
Shh. Don't speak to her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you have nothing better to do with your time than to take her around to show off her beauty, then what you're telling them from a very early age is that they are judged by the way they look, which is a very stupid thing to do.
And later today,
James had made threats to us and to our home.
I don't want to
When everything turned violent, we had to have him escorted off the property twice.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Child Beauty Pageant Director Gladys Sirakowski says Victoria Doe owes for the entrance fee for her daughter. Victoria says she stopped payment because the pageant was rigged.
Still, the reason that you stopped payment was not because of this bond that you say you didn't receive, that you say you didn't receive. The problem was you thought your daughter should have won the contest. As a matter of fact, when you talk
place somewhere higher. Yes, I do. 2 other judges or directors agreed.
They weren't there.
There were 5 babies in the division.
Listen to me. Don't speak to her. How many times do I have to explain to you not to speak to her? You say in your answer that you believe the pageant was rigged. That's why you didn't pay her. It had nothing to do with the bond.
That's not true.
Well, that's what you say in your answer, madam. And that's the only reason that this PayPal would not pay. If you had said to them, I entered my daughter in a contest and I think the contest was rigged and I want to stop paying, they would say, that's not a reason to stop. Listen, Ms. Doe, you want to schlep your daughter from one state to another to be in beauty pageants. That's totally up to you. I cannot discourage you from doing that. Sometimes she's going to win, sometimes she's not going to win. Sometimes somebody's going to be a favorite, and sometimes the whole thing is going to be a sham. If you have nothing better to do with your time than to take her around to show off her beauty, that's a very sad. How old is she?
2.
I would say at 2 you should be sitting home reading books to her, not schlepping her around from one beauty pageant to another. If you don't understand by now that this lady is in business to make money.
I understand that, Your Honor, but it's also her job to consult with parents.
No, it isn't.
You can't take the money.
No, it isn't. You got to pay the money. You don't like this contest? Don't enter it again. You think without witnesses I'm going to find that this contest was rigged? It's not going to happen. I want to tell you something. Very, very good expression. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. What you're supposed to do if you have a daughter is to try to teach her that her mind is more important than her face. And I know that this isn't very good for the plaintiff's business, but if everybody out there would try to understand that what's in here is much more important long-term than what's here, and that usually children do not thrive from being schlepped from one place to another and primped and made up, dressed up, because then what you're telling them from a very early age is that they are judged by the way they look, which is a very stupid thing to do. Stupidity here does not get rewarded. She's entitled to her money, $321. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very happy to be getting the money back that's owed to me.
If they weren't going to award my daughter properly, then I deserve the refund.
But I'm not happy with the picture painted of pageants and my business.
Everybody has their own opinions.
She's got a big case of sour grapes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of AG versus Horry, step forward, please.
Rebecca Agee and her fiance James Crane are suing their former friends Scott Horry and his wife Sarah for moving expenses and the value of personal property. The Horrys are countersuing for lost wages and emotional distress.
Mr. and Mrs. Agee, you and the defendants had been good friends. According to you, you were living in Oregon. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And both couples decided that they would be better off in their lives if they relocated to Iowa. Now, who came from Iowa?
We did, Your Honor.
So you agreed to sort of split the costs of moving and travel together, and once you got to Iowa, Mr. and Mrs. Horry were going to help you find a job. I don't know whether you were going to live together, but hopefully you would both live happily ever after in Iowa.
Okay.
Well, it didn't work out that way, and according to you, things turned sour on the trip. You claimed that the Horrys owe you for expenses, property that they kept, mental anguish, and you also want them to pay for your trip back from Iowa to Oregon because it didn't work out. They say that they thought everything went along just fine. They have a counterclaim because they say that you aggravated them.
Breathe.
Breathe. All right. Let me hear it succinctly.
We thought that they were really good friends of ours when we met them. We moved into 10 Mile, Oregon, and they were our neighbors, and we invited them over many times for everything.
Let's cut to the chase. You decided to move to Iowa with them.
We moved to Iowa with them. When we got to their home in Iowa, they were rude to us. They put us in a small room with 2 cat boxes. I also have he's almost 8 months old now, my son. When we got there, we had no money. They were supposed to pay us for half of the U-Haul.
Which was how much?
$117.50. And they said that we owed them money instead.
What did they owe you money for?
We paid for everything, including the trailer. We agreed upon that we would also give them a place to stay, give them a job, and we did all of that. Above and beyond,
Your Honor.
when they had reached Colorado, when they ran out of money, I had gone...
They ran out of money in Colorado?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. His parents helped them out to get gas, and they came up to Wyoming
And
finally
met us where we were
met us
supposed to
there.
meet.
Did you need to borrow some money from his parents? That's easy to find out, so just answer my question.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much money did you take from his parents?
Somewhere around $30.
You mean the two of you were traveling with a new baby with absolutely no money? Now, wouldn't it have been more prudent to stay in Oregon and save a little more money? Save $500, $1,000. Save it up so that you're not driving around with an 8-month-old baby with no money.
We had the money, ma'am. We ended up paying for the U-Haul. Mr. Horry paid for the deposit on the U-Haul.
Are you saying $117? Is that what
No.
you're talking about?
That's
how
half
much?
of it.
That's half of it. The full amount was $230-something, I believe.
Yes.
We would have had the full amount if they would have given us the money when we got there to make it all the way.
You're just not following me.
I'm sorry.
That's a big trip to make.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
unless things are so terrible in Oregon that you weren't surviving there.
We were hoping for a brand new start, something new. They guaranteed him a job when
You
we got
can't
there.
guarantee anything. No, you don't rely on anybody for anything.
Yeah, we've learned that the past
Well, you
couple
don't.
of months.
All right. His parents gave you $30 for gas. Did you ever pay him back?
No.
We haven't made it that far
Okay.
yet.
What's next?
When they reached Cheyenne, Wyoming, I went up to Becky, knowing they had no money left, and said, would you rather me pay for the rest of your gas to get to Iowa since you have no more money left? And that was the new agreement.
Okay, and you had no money for, just a second, and you had no money for gas.
Right.
So how much did you pay for gas for their car?
Approximately around $200. And we also were paying for food, which was a new agreement, so we had no problem with that.
And
What
we're
was the
not
new-
suing for that.
Okay, so it's clear to me you had no money.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had to borrow $30 from his parents. And how many days were you on the road after you borrowed $30 from his parents?
Less than a day.
Less than a day.
And then you got to the house?
No, we met in Cheyenne and we
Okay.
drove.
How many days was it that
were
you
on the
lived in
road.
the house?
We were there for a little
Day
over
and a half.
24 hours.
How much did you spend in gas? I'm trying to figure out if we've used up this $117.
We have
Yes.
receipts, Your Honor.
I'm asking you.
From what point, Your Honor? I don't understand.
From the point you ran out of money.
We ran out of money in Longmont to
How did
Iowa.
you eat? Who fed you?
We stopped for food once with them. And
What
that
about
was
when
it.
you got to the house? You said they put you
They
in a
had
room.
no food at
They
the
had-
house.
Yeah.
They had no
electricity.
electricity. We had to clean out the refrigerator.
Just a second. So how did you eat that day?
We didn't.
We went and bought them Pizza Hut.
Yes, we
We
had
bought
Pizza Hut.
them a whole bunch of food. The very next day, we also went out and bought them a big barbecue to have food, and we provided their baby with formula.
Does any of that sound right? You had no money.
No, ma'am.
How did your baby eat?
I had formula for him when
Listen,
I left
I'm not
Oregon.
bothering with this.
We-
They're not paying for your trip home. They're not paying for any of the moving expenses from Oregon to Iowa. They've already taken care of that. Now, you want to tell me what about the value of personal property you say they kept? What personal property did they keep?
They pawned our television set and
TV. What happened to their television sets?
Yes, we did pawn it because she gave us every permission to sell all their stuff when they left, because they left and they had no intentions to come back, and she made sure that I
Yes,
kept
we
her
did, Your
green
Honor.
tub. She had a green tub full of personal belongings, like pictures, birthday cards, and stuff like that, that she had said meant so much to her. So I promised her and I swore to her we would not get rid of that stuff.
And for 2 days straight, it was, what do we do with your belongings?
That's
the
not
first
true, Your
night,
Honor.
it was,
he asked me
I don't-
how long I should keep it.
the first night, I understand everything was in an outrage. She had said, I don't care what you do with my stuff, just don't get rid of my big green bucket.
Now, how much did you sell the TV for?
Somewhere around $80-some is what we got for it at the pawn shop.
Okay. Now, let me hear your counterclaim.
We're suing because, or countersuing because James had made threats to us, to our vehicles, and
That's
to
not
our
true, Your
home
Honor. I don't want to hear
when
you
everything
from
turned
speaking.
violent and he was starting to push his way around, and we had to have him escorted off the property twice.
Your Honor.
Our neighbors,
When was that?
It had to have been in August. I'd say around the 25th.
And you haven't seen him since?
No, we
Your
haven't.
Honor.
Shh, speak not. And you haven't had any contact with him in many months, is that right?
Nope, not except for
What
through
else?
you. And loss of wages is all we're suing
What loss
for.
of wages for what?
We think it is a waste to be here.
You should have said no.
Yeah.
What, no isn't part of your vocabulary?
No.
There you go. Somebody calls you and says, would you like to have your dispute resolved before Judge Judy Scheindlin? And you say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to miss work. There you go.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get nothing.
Ma'am.
Zippo.
That's cool.
Good. Cool. You get $80 for your TV. And go. Have a happy life. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 328 on the calendar in the matter of Kitt versus Gadsden. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Kitt, do you have family?
Yes.
Tell me about your family. How many are in your family?
I have 6 and custody of one other, so that makes 7.
Is there a Mr. Kitt?
My son and my nephew.
Other than that? So
No.
you have no husband?
Right.
Miss Gadsden, you want to tell me how many people are in your family?
I live alone right now. I have 3 children. My oldest is living in Atlanta with her father. My young 2 smaller children are with their grandmother. I'm in the midst of a custody hearing. Actually, I have a court date on November 22nd.
Have those children ever lived with you in the past year?
They left about exactly a year ago.
You 2 ladies are neighbors. Each of you has a complaint against the other, suing the other for $5,000. The complaint is really grounded in various forms of harassment. You claim, Ms. Kitt, that the defendant had you falsely arrested on 4 separate occasions, and that she has made numerous phone calls about you to Child Protective Services, alleging that the children who are in your care are out unsupervised. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gadsden says that you're making her life a holy hell, and she is counterclaiming. So why don't you, Ms. Kitt, first tell me how long you've been living in the house that you currently occupy?
I moved there exactly January 1st of year 2000.
And how long, Ms. Gadsden, have you been living there?
I moved there 94. I've been there 5 years.
So you've been there a long time?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you, in a couple of minutes, Ms. Kitt, tell me all about your case against Ms. Gadsden?
Well, about a week after moving there, my children were outside playing. It was right after Christmas. We had just moved there. I walked to the door, and Ms. Gadsden had a limousine come and pick her friend up. My kids, they admired it. They went outside to see, you know, run and play and look at it. When I seen them approach Ms. Gadsden's side of the street, they was like, wow. So Ms. Gadsden came out and said, y'all, MF's children are not used to seeing things like this. Get the hell away from my yard. So I walked over to her side of the street. I said, ma'am, I don't know you, but these are my children. Don't speak to them in that tone of manner. So I went on in the house, went to work maybe 2 days later. My kid's babysitter lives directly next door to Miss Gadsden. I brought you a picture.
She lives next door.
And I went to open the door to get my kids. Miss Gadsden opened her door and said, B.I., hopped and spit in my face. And it was, I just can't explain, but I knew I was going to get her. And I did. The same day, I hit her. I popped her in her mouth. Not even a year later, maybe about in April, I kept getting police calls and at my house at work. I come home one day, the social services was there. She told me that she had had complaints 1 week after another concerning my kids being unsupervised. So I took her to where my kids were at a babysitter, which was next door to Miss Gadsden. And they found no foundings. After they did all this, and I guess she couldn't have me locked up anymore, she started with having me arrested on false charges. I had to be bailed out of jail over and over and over again. Up until this day, I'm still being arrested.
Arrested?
Yes, arrested.
You have the police reports?
Yes, I do.
Can I see them, please?
I have some copies of those and the charges that were all dismissed.
How many times did you have her arrested for damaging your car?
2 times, ma'am.
Did you see her damage your car?
Yes, ma'am.
How come the charges were dismissed?
The photos that I'd asked a friend to drop off for me at Walmart, they did not get same day, development. They had 4 days. And when I went to court the next day, I had to wait until the day after court to get the photos. So the judge dismissed it because I didn't have proof, which made me very upset with my friend, of
Your
course.
Honor. You think I believe that story? I don't believe that story for a minute. Let's go back a minute, Miss Gadsden. You have 2 young children. How old are your children?
6 and 8 years old.
The children were removed by social services?
Yes. They were not removed from me. They were placed with their father temporarily.
They were placed with their father by social services.
Okay. They were actually picked up. My oldest daughter was home with the children, and she walked out. She was, in a sense, envious of her 2 younger sisters. She thought that we had a closer relationship than she did. She'd come here from Georgia with her father, and she walked out and called the police and left the 2 children there. The police then took the children to my licensed daycare provider.
Miss Gadsden.
And then from there.
Is what you're telling me that you had a misunderstanding with your older daughter, and because there was a misunderstanding with her, she was jealous of the 2 younger children, she left them alone, and because of that, social services placed your 2 children with their father?
Right.
And they've been with their father for over a year because of that?
No, ma'am. After placing them with him, well, they went immediately from my house to the licensed daycare provider that I had. From there, the father picked them up, and they allowed him to have temporary custody until I completed whatever needed to be done through the Division of Social Services.
But Ms. Gadsden, there's a major piece there that you're not telling me, and
Yes,
I want
ma'am.
you to say, I was in family court for 25 years. I don't know if it's substance abuse involved.
No, none.
I don't know if there were prior incidents of leaving the children alone.
No,
I'm not sure. I don't know. But I know that if what the original story that you told me was that this was a misunderstanding with your older daughter, that your 2 younger children would have been back in a blink. It was not that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been arrested for anything?
Yes, assault and battery.
What else?
Forgery.
After 92.
Petty larceny. I don't remember the years, but I know charges.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lynette Kitt says neighbor Tanya Gatson has had her falsely arrested on 4 separate occasions. Tanya says Lynette hangs out with drug dealers.
No. So now I hear a whole bunch of false arrests and a whole bunch of stuff that you've been aggravating her. Now let me hear how she's aggravated you.
If I may begin with, there are other people living in her house, and they are individuals that aren't on leases there. They reach in their socks and they give her things that she pays for at the door, and I have witnesses that have written statements, and I've kind of highlighted where the drugs are in our neighborhood, and there's definitely drug trafficking going on in that vicinity. My last day coming home to my home, I watched an individual walk up to Mrs. Kitt's window. There is an individual, I would not like to call his name, that is banned from our neighborhood, that was known to be shooting in our neighborhood. I've made several police calls about, that is in Mrs. Kitt's home now. Mrs. Kitt, from 7 in the morning to about 2, 3 in the morning, it's like a blowhorn from across the street to the street behind my street to a lady by the name of Renee that she's now pulled a knife on and had Renee removed from the neighborhood. Renee pulled a baseball bat in return. On July, the 12th day, I rented that limousine for my friend, not in September. There were children from the neighborhood, yes, but they weren't Miss Kitt's children. It was Mrs. Kitt that, as I said, excuse me, coming down from my front grass, the kids were all looking, and yes, and I brought my friend outside as a surprise because he'd done a very kind thing for me. And I said, excuse me, please. And she replied with vulgar language, and I was really torn up that I had to be assaulted to do something nice for a friend by this lady across the street. I have, Your Honor, I don't know how else to say, just had about 7 court dates with Miss Kitt.
Just a second. Miss Kitt, would you tell me how many children who live in your home are your biological children?
4 of them are, Your Honor.
I'm confused. 5 or 4?
Well, I count my nephew. I have custody of him. But biologically, 4 of mine live there.
Okay. What other children live in your house?
None other, and no one else, Your Honor.
Have you ever been arrested for drug sales?
No, ma'am.
Other than the arrests that were caused by complaints by Miss Gadsden, have you ever been arrested for anything?
Yes, assault and battery.
When?
2 years this year.
Who was the complainant in that case?
Another young lady.
From the neighborhood?
Yes.
And what was the result of that case?
Dismissed.
Did she allege that you assaulted her?
Yes. Yes,
and
she did.
Did you allege that you were the victim and that she assaulted you?
I said I didn't do it.
You said you just didn't do it?
I didn't do it.
Did you go to trial?
Yes, I did.
And you were acquitted after trial?
Yes.
And that's the only arrest you had anywhere?
Oh, no, ma'am. I have some, like 10 years ago.
For
12
what?
years ago.
What else?
Driving.
Other than driving?
Forgery.
What year?
92.
After 92?
94.
For what?
No, 96 was driving.
Between 92 and 96?
Petty larceny. I don't remember the years, but I know charges.
When was the last time you were incarcerated? Think carefully.
96.
How long?
45 days.
Is that on a plea or a conviction?
Conviction.
Who watched your children?
Their fathers. 2 of them were in DCS because their fathers were Navy.
Now, Ms. Gadsden, I'm going to ask you the same question. Other than instances involving Miss Kitt, have you ever been arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you were arrested?
This was dated on, if maybe the deputy could help me.
No, just tell me. It had nothing to do with Miss Kitt.
Indirectly, yes, ma'am. This was a summons that was for my children's father and I for court, and Miss Kitt thought this was a summons for her and I in court, and I have a witness here that watched her take the summons off my door.
Other than anything having to do with Miss Kitt, have you ever been arrested?
This is a failure to appear.
Listen to me very carefully, Miss Gadsden. Other than any instance that even tangentially involves Miss Kitt, have you ever been arrested?
I don't think so.
Don't give me I don't think so.
In my home, Prior to
in your
2000,
home, out of your home, in the theater, in a
Right.
restaurant, in the street, have you ever been arrested
when
in a
this
car?
individual came to my door,
Just answer yes or no.
Yes.
You have been arrested.
The officer accidentally arrested me, and he was the one that had assaulted me.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Other than that instance, madam,
yes.
other than that instance, prior to 2000, have you ever been arrested?
Prior to 2000, I was not arrested. I turned myself in after I found that the children's father's girlfriend filed a warrant against me in the city of Chesapeake, a counter warrant, and actually the incident occurred in the city of Norfolk.
I want you ladies to listen to me very, very carefully. Are you involved in a custody dispute now with the father of your children?
No, ma'am. He is not participating in any with what social services has required. I've completed all of those things.
Oh, he's not giving you back the kids so fast.
He doesn't have the children, ma'am.
Where are they?
His mother and sister have the children around the corner from my house. I asked them to get them out of foster care because they were taken from him because he had no place to stay.
Okay, you have an older daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And two younger ones. You just told me 2 minutes ago that the
Yes,
two
ma'am.
younger children were with their father. Did I hear that right? Did you hear that?
Let her explain.
Okay.
You just told me that they weren't removed, that they weren't in foster care, that they were with their father. I said that the state take your children. You told me no.
No, I apologize.
Wait, please, give me a break. Listen, you two ladies deserve each other. I would suggest the following to you. Listen to me very carefully. If you're going to live next door to each other, I suggest you have nothing to do with each other. Other than that, I don't want to be bothered with you. Goodbye.
These are excused. You may step out.
Envy. There's a lady that's on the porch on a chair all night long.
She never lets up. She let the judicial system keep me down, but it's not going to keep me down.
The young lady wanted a lot of attention.
I just know it'll never be over.
I think I've been getting all the attention in the neighborhood.
I'm a good friend. I would give her a glass of water. She needed it off the street.
I've got limousines, Lexuses, SC Lexuses, all sorts of nice things coming through and nice people coming to visit.
She's a serial neighbor.
Evening gown, dates, tuxedos, and she has nothing.
She spit in my face.
I opened my door, heard her on the porch at the neighbor's house, reached over to check my mail, and someone stepped up and did that.
Something is wrong. Definitely wrong.
I'm moving. You'll never see me again.
She needs a straight jacket.
I'm gone, Miss Kid.
I'm gonna keep praying.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Carlton, step forward, please.
Registered nurse Cynthia Hall is suing artist Della Carlton for the money she paid to have a mural painted. Cynthia says Della did a poor job.
Miss Hall, you hired the defendant to paint a mural in the nursery, in your baby's nursery.
Yes, Your Honor.
Paid her $200.
Yes.
She painted the mural. You say it was less than quality work. You want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it says she did a reasonable job, and you're entitled to nothing. How did you find the defendant?
I went to a local baby store called Gore's in Sacramento, and they had a portfolio of her, and she really had a really nice portfolio there. So I was kind of at the end of my pregnancy and really wanted to get someone to do the mural for me right away. So.
And in her portfolio, did it list references?
I didn't see any references.
Did you ask her for references?
No, I didn't.
And she came to your house?
She came to my house.
First, you called her on the phone?
Yes.
Did you set a price with her on the phone?
Over the phone, we didn't really set a price. She actually came out, and I kind of discussed with her what I was wanting, but no price was set over the phone.
And so you discussed price when she came out to the house?
Yes.
And she was going to charge you?
Originally, I told her $300 for the labor.
And then?
Then later, I realized I hadn't told her that I usually got $30 for supplies. So the total cost, I priced it at $330.
Okay.
And then she told me that she was on a limited budget and that she didn't want to spend any more than $200, including supplies. So I agreed to that, and I came out to her house and did the artwork.
And how long did it take you?
4.5 hours plus.
Okay, can I see the picture of what you did?
Yes, Your Honor. What I have here is her photos. I have the photos from Gore's because she did the bathroom there, a mural in the bathroom at Gore's.
I'm not interested in the photos from Gore's. You made the selection. You selected her as an artist. That's your problem, Miss Hall.
Okay.
And she painted on the wall these little butterflies?
Yes, they're about 6 inches. She stenciled them. I was not expecting those things. I was actually expecting her to give me something more three-dimensional, something that I could actually kind of come to life. I asked for a dragonfly in specific.
Upside down, that looks pretty good to me.
A lot of
She did all these flowers here?
Yes.
Looks lovely.
You can see the eraser marks that kind of still showed through. After it dried, it really, really showed through.
Listen, you didn't pay for a $5,000 Picasso, madam. You paid $200 to spruce up your baby's nursery. It looks like she did an absolutely fine job. Baby fine?
Baby's fine.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
Looks around at the flowers?
Baby looks around at the flowers.
Very good. If you don't like the flowers, paint over them.
But pencil marks showed through.
You paid $200 for this artwork. You got $200 worth of artwork, maybe a little bit more. Stop complaining. Don't muddle up your life with things that are really unimportant. She came to your house twice. She came first to give an estimate. She gave you an estimate of $330. Then you said, I can't spend more than $200. She said, okay, I'll do it for $200. She came out, she did the work. She was there for 4 hours. Certainly she's entitled to be paid for her labor. You paid her for her labor after the work was done. Is that right?
Yes.
Then later you looked at it and you said, I don't like this. I see a pencil mark. I see a smudge. I see an eraser mark.
That's because after it dried, it really showed through. You could see all
I want to tell you something. You certainly can't see that from the pictures. All you see from the pictures is lovely, light artwork. So concentrate on important things, not things that aren't important. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 464 on the calendar in the matter of White versus Askins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss White, the defendant used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, he had you falsely arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
For violating a restraining order that he had against you, and you want him to pay to the tune of some $5,000 for having you falsely arrested. Mr. Askins says that he could have made an honest mistake.
Yes.
That's your defense. When were you arrested on this violation of the protective order that he had?
29th of August, 2002, ma'am.
And when had he received his protective order?
19th of July, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Askins, why did you feel as if you needed a protective order against Miss White in July?
Because she'd caused problems at work. She's caused problems when I'd go out with my friends. She'd come by a friend's houses.
Did she ever damage any of your property?
No, ma'am.
Did she ever assault you or touch you in any way?
No, ma'am.
When had you separated from Miss White?
Around May.
So far, is that correct, that you separated in May?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a final protective order?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you consent to that? Or was there a trial?
There was a trial, ma'am.
When was the trial?
The trial was on the 1st of August, ma'am.
Okay. He filed for a protective order because he said you were harassing him. Then on August 1st, there was a trial on his request for a permanent order. For a year or 3 years?
Forever, as far as I knew. It'd be permanent.
Nothing's forever. Let's say for a year. There was a trial. Did you have a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Did you testify before a judge?
No, ma'am.
How could there be a trial? Did you have a trial in secret somewhere?
We had a trial, ma'am, and we were moved to a different courtroom, to a judge that usually doesn't do restraining orders.
I don't care whether there was a judge. Did you have a trial before a judge and give testimony before a judge?
Mr. Askins did, ma'am.
And what about you?
No, ma'am. He just asked me if I wanted any contact with Mr. Askins, and I stated no. At that time, he made it permanent.
All right, so on 8/1, he was granted a permanent order of protection. Now, Mr. Askins, I want you to tell me what happened on August 29th that caused you to have Miss White arrested.
I was over at a friend's house. It was 2 other friends and myself. We were outside. It was late, probably 2, 3 a.m., something like that. And a car pulled up. When we got out, started cussing. It looked like Mandy White.
Just a second. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're outside, and a car pulled up. Were you sitting outside on somebody's porch? Were you sitting outside on a curb? Were you sitting outside on a grassy knoll? Where were you sitting?
Sitting outside on the porch.
And how far away was the truck?
Probably 30, 40 feet.
And it's dark outside?
Yes, ma'am.
So a truck pulls up, and very slowly you're going to tell me what happened.
A woman got out, started yelling cuss words.
Who got out?
A woman that looked like Mandy White got out, started yelling cuss words. I called the police and told them that I couldn't be 100% certain that it was her, but it did look like her, and the car was like hers. And from there, they arrested her, and the DA picked up the charges against her.
You mean you're sitting 40 feet away, and the person actually got out of the car and started to curse at you, and you couldn't tell that that person was your girlfriend or not?
Not 100% with it being dark.
Miss White, before the 29th of August, could you tell me why you were bothering him?
I wasn't, ma'am.
Why would he think you were bothering him?
I don't know, ma'am.
Where were you on the evening of August 29th?
I was at home asleep, ma'am.
Could you tell me where you were when the police arrested you?
Yes, ma'am. I had left for work that morning at 4:40, and we go to Peterson Air Force Base to pick up a van, and we drive it to Schriever Air Force Base. And I had gotten my weapon, and I was on post already, and my supervisor came and relieved me, and they took my weapon away in front of everybody and said that I needed to go to the commander's office. We went to the commander's office, and they then told me that I was under investigation for disobeying a lawful order, which was to stay away from Mr. Askins. Then they also told me that I had a warrant out for my arrest. So Master Sergeant took me to the sheriff's office in Colorado Springs, and they arrested me at that time. And then the Air Force did an investigation also, and everybody was interviewed and investigated while I was
I'd like
there.
to see the interviews.
Yes, ma'am.
How many friends were you with that night, sir?
2 friends.
Your 2 friends lied to the police, right?
No, ma'am.
Oh, yes, they did. Seen the results of this paperwork and the investigation that was done?
No, I haven't.
Well, I'll tell you that when your 2 friends told the responding officer, because you called the police and you had some time to talk to your friends before they arrived, your friends told the police that you had all gone outside to smoke a cigarette and that your 2 friends each told the police that they saw her pull up into the driveway, curse you, scream at you. That's what they told them, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. And so did you. There's nothing in this original report that suggests, sir, that you told the police that you weren't quite sure who it was. It looked like Miss White. You and your friends told the police initially that there was no question that it was Miss White. Want me to read you what you said?
Sure.
He, that's you, stated that he went outside to smoke a cigarette, at which time he observed the dark bronze Saturn pull into the driveway. Askins stated that at this time, White opened the driver's door of the vehicle and stepped outside. Askins stated that White then began to curse at him. He stated that after listening to White curse at him, he told her to leave, at which time she did. Where is there any question in that statement that you weren't sure of the identity of the person? Then he goes on to interview, stated that he was watching television when he heard someone yelling. He stated that he got up, looked out the front door, at which time he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then Mr. also stated that he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then I have a letter saying that the military has indicated that they will recommend that charges be filed against all 3 individuals for filing false charges against her. Anything ever happen with that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. The statements that each of the 3 of you gave to the responding officer were directly contradictory to the statements that they gave later. That's what it says here. You want to look at this?
No, ma'am, that's okay.
Well, Mr. Askins, how do you respond to that, sir?
That their statements were different?
Mm-hmm.
How were they different?
Well, it's different when you say it could have been my ex-girlfriend, but it was dark and I couldn't be sure. That's different from it was Miss White. No question. That's different. Don't you see it's different?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you think of any reason, Miss White, why Mr. Askins would want to be vicious and vindictive?
Because I broke up with him, ma'am.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
We were together for about 6 months, and we had lived together. And he was very, very controlling. He would get upset when I wanted to see my family, and he wouldn't let me go. So I told him we should just be friends, and we were going to sleep in different bedrooms because I had a 2-bedroom apartment. He said that was too weird, and so he moved out. And then he just kept following me, and his truck was parked near my apartment at all times of the night.
Did Miss White break up with you?
It's more of a mutual thing than anything.
Explain it to me.
We were just fighting, weren't really getting along, and
Did she tell you that she wanted just to be friends and that you could share the apartment but not her bedroom? Did she tell you that?
yes. And I did move out and also left like certain items, so like a couch, so she wouldn't be without a couch and stuff like that.
But she broke up with you. She told you she wasn't interested in continuing the relationship as it had been. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, so can you explain to me what would be her rationale? What would motivate her to stalk you if, Mr. Askins, she broke up with you? Tell me why she would come stalking you and cursing you.
I have no idea.
She's not psychotic, is she?
I don't know.
Are you?
No.
Ms. White, I have to make a judgment. And this is a very serious judgment that I have to make, because usually when you have a victim of a crime, if we were to award civil damages to someone who was harmed by being falsely arrested, that might have a chilling effect on the entire justice system, because people would have fear of coming forward, unless you can demonstrate to my satisfaction or to a court's satisfaction that someone maliciously and without cause filed a report that they knew or believed was either untrue or probably not true, and the police acted on it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we have here? We have a guy who was told to get out of the bedroom, that you were no longer interested in having a romantic relationship with him. He's out at 3 o'clock in the morning with some of his buddies, drinking. The three of them tell the exact same story to the police, that they saw you at a time when it was confirmed, evidently, through investigation that you were home. Couldn't have been you. As a result of which you were arrested, you were humiliated, and you want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm satisfied that what he did was malicious. And this is probably one of the first times that I've been so satisfied. I'm satisfied what he did was malicious. What he did is because he's a big baby. What he did is because he's probably too short. For a variety of reasons. In any event, I'm awarding you what you request, $5,000. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been pretty traumatic.
Got phone calls in the middle of the night, everything from her.
I think he's just a mean person.
Keep her away from me.
He started controlling her when they were dating, and he didn't like the fact that she didn't want to be with him anymore, and he was doing anything that he could to make her life horrible.
The victim, me, I feel like I am.
Finally, we have justice. Judge Judy is the best.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morgan versus King. Step forward, please.
Carpenter Gwen Morgan is suing her niece, 20-year-old hotel reservationist LaToya King, for vandalizing her car. LaToya denies the charge.
Ms. Morgan, I've read your complaint. The defendant is your niece, and it is your claim that she vandalized your car. You're going to tell me why you think she would do such a thing, and then, more importantly, you're going to tell me what proof you have that she did it. So let's start with the whys first. Why would she vandalize your car?
Well, around the beginning of December, I was called to my mother's house.
Your niece was living with your mother?
She lives with my mother.
For how long were you living with, is that your grandmother?
I lived with her all my life.
She ill?
Yes.
Who else lives there at the house with you?
Right now, just my grandpa and my son.
Is he all right? Your grandfather?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so then LaToya came home, and LaToya and the young man came to my mama's house, and we got into an argument because she didn't want the check to go direct deposit. She wanted to come to the mailbox.
What check is she talking about?
This SSI check. I have the paper.
SSI check for whom?
My nephew, which is her half-brother.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Who's in charge of your brother's
My
SSI
grandmother.
check? Your grandmother is.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to do with that?
Well, the thing is, I'm my mother's provider because my mother's ill and mostly bedridden.
What do you mean she's your provider? What does that mean?
In-care healthcare provider for the elderly people.
You don't live there?
No, I don't. I don't, but I was hired to take care of her.
Whatever, I don't want to get into that. You got into an argument with your niece over who was going to be in charge.
Over a check. Whose check was going to be?
You got into an argument with your niece over who was going to be in charge of finances.
Whether the check come
I don't care.
direct deposit.
Finances, please. I don't have
Okay,
time
fine.
to go into the whole thing. It's not necessary.
Okay.
That's what the argument was about.
Yes.
The argument was about money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He taunts me all the time.
What did he say?
He said, ha B, that's why we tore your car up. You tried to sue the wrong person.
Don't make a big story for me. I'm asking you a question. Stop making it up as you go.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gwen Morgan says after a family argument, her niece, LaToya King, vandalized her car. LaToya says her aunt has a lot of enemies.
Ms. Morgan, when was the argument about money? Give me the date.
On December 27th.
When was your car vandalized?
Well, I woke up on the 28th I got out there about 6 o'clock a.m.
And your car was vandalized?
Yes.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes.
Can I see them, please? Okay, clearly somebody vandalized your car. They flattened your tires, scratched it up, painted it up. Nasty. Now, the next question is, what proof do you have that your niece was responsible for this damage?
Okay, after the disturbance, she called the police and told the police all kind of lies where he just wrote an incident disturbance report. So I went home to my apartment, and she kept calling my house, telling me that if I didn't come back over there to fight her and the young man, that she was going to come over to my house and tear my car up. She wanted me to come out in the rain and fight with both of them.
Do you have a police report?
No. I just have the case number for the police.
Okay. Ms. King, want to try to explain to me what happened at your house?
First of all, she has a lot of enemies, but I know that's irrelevant. But the reason why we got into an argument was because she was trying to put her name on my brother's check, which my grandmother didn't want it. And how we got into an argument, me and my boyfriend was already at the house, and she came in. I didn't know what was going on. She was holding my grandmother down, making my brother go through her purse looking for his bank statements and all this. Why? I'm not sure.
What do you mean she was holding your grandmother down?
She was holding my grandmother down, making
what does that
my
mean?
Brother, like forcing her to not grab her purse from my brother. Which my brother is mentally challenged, so he's easily to be manipulated. So it's not his fault or anything, but she was holding her down. So I'm like, what are you doing? And then that's when we got into an argument. She was trying to fight me, but I didn't want to fight her. I just called the police.
And the police responded?
Yes. They came and they asked her to leave.
Is that correct? Did they tell you to leave?
They asked me to leave.
Do you know anything about her car?
No, ma'am. I mean, I didn't do anything to it, but I heard about it.
Why don't you tell me what you heard?
Her friend called my grandmother and told her that Gwen was hurt. Somebody had vandalized her car, and she was all upset to please call her. My grandmother told me, Latoya, Gwen may be hurt. The reason why my grandmother wasn't talking to her is because she took my grandmother to court and tried to sue her for $500 for the paperwork that she did for my brother, which my mom asked her to do.
What do you know about who vandalized her car?
I don't know anything about who vandalized it. That's how I heard it.
Did you vandalize her car?
No.
Ms. Morgan, she may have vandalized your car and he may have vandalized your car. You the boyfriend?
Yes.
I don't know. It's possible, but possible doesn't go in court. Do you understand, Ms. Morgan? You have to have proof.
Well, he told me that they did it.
Really?
Yes, he told me.
Oh, let me, just a second, step up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Ms. Morgan, what did he say to you and when did he say it?
He taunts me all the time.
What did he say?
He said, ha, B, that's why we tore your car up. You tried to sue the wrong person, but I tore your car up, me and Latoya tore it up, and they told me over the phone that they was going to tear it up if I didn't come out to fight. And
where were you when he said to you, we tore your car up?
Going down my mother's main cross street. I go over to by my mother sometimes because I know people that live in the area because I've been over there all my life.
Don't make a big story for me. I'm asking you a question. Stop making it up as you're going. When and where were you when he first told you that he tore up your car, madam?
It was on a Sunday 2 weeks ago on the corner by my mother's house on Cypress Street.
I don't believe that, Miss Morgan. I don't believe that he told you 2 weeks ago, this past Sunday, as you were going by your mother's house. I believe that they might have done it. That's not the issue. I believe you just made up that story.
No, he taunts me all the time. He does. Every time he sees me, he teases me, telling me that they tore my car.
Well, then he's not a very nice person. Did you ever do that?
I don't speak to this lady. I do not speak to her at all.
Miss Morgan, when you come to court, unfortunately, you understand you have to have proof. You don't have any proof that your niece tore up your car, and you don't have any proof that he tore up your car, and I don't believe that he admitted it to you, so your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 439 on the calendar in the matter of Elite Limousine versus Armstrong. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Who's going to speak on behalf of Elite Limousine?
I will.
Good.
I'm Deborah Williams.
Well, it's an interesting case. You provided limousine service for the defendant's wedding, picked up the defendant, and I assume the wedding party at the church and took them to where they had to go. Your bill for the evening was $795, something like that.
Yes,
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant refuses to pay. The defendant says that it was very nice of you to send the limousine. She never hired you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When were you married?
October 26th.
Where?
At Zora United Methodist Church in Greer, South Carolina.
How big is this town in Carolina?
It's not a very big town.
How many churches are there?
Probably 30.
Was this on a Sunday?
It was a Saturday.
Is it your experience that all 30 churches, or most of them, have weddings on Saturdays?
Usually, yes, ma'am.
Booked a lot in advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to try to explain to me your theory of how they arrived at your church to pick you up at your wedding on the 26th of October, just at the time that you and your wedding party were leaving the church. Explain that to me.
Well, it started about a month and a half prior to my wedding. I was calling around numerous places to get prices on limos. I contacted Elite Limousine at the time of contact over the telephone. I spoke with a lady and I told her I needed a limousine for my wedding. She asked me to give her the specifics, where the church was, what time my wedding was, how long I would need the limo and so forth, and that she would put the man on the phone with me that would take the information down for me.
Go ahead.
Okay, once he got on the phone, I gave him the specifics as far as date, where the wedding was going to be held, the times I needed the service, and at that time he told me that it would be $795 and that it required a $150 deposit. I told him at that time on the phone that I was not prepared to pay the deposit because I'd like to speak with my fiance. He told me that would be fine. What he would do is keep the information I'd given him, and I had until 5 o'clock that day to call him back with a $150 deposit, and if I did not call back, it would cancel out and the reservation would not be held up. So I spoke with my husband. We decided not to do it, and because he told me I didn't have to call back, if I didn't pay the deposit it would cancel, I never called back. The day of my wedding, I walk out of the church and there's a limo there.
No, now stop a second. That's how they got to your wedding, according to you.
Yes, ma'am.
How many people were in your wedding party that ultimately used the limousine?
There were 3 bridesmaids, 3 groomsmen, 2 flower girls, a ring bearer, and my husband and I, and 2 ushers.
How did you all get to the church?
We drove our own personal vehicles, and prior to the wedding, we had all decided that we would follow each other to the reception. That was our intentions after the wedding, to carpool to the reception.
So you gave up the idea of hiring a limousine?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
So after my wedding, we walk out of the church, the limo's there, everybody's amazed, and I've got a videotape showing the actual footage where we're walking out of the church. As we walked up to the limo driver had the door open and he was standing there, and I said, "What is the limo for?" And he said, "Are you Sherry Armstrong?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "If you're Sherry Armstrong, this limo's for you." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, I don't understand. I didn't rent a limo." He says, "If you're Sherry Armstrong, it's paid in full, everything's taken care of." Okay. So we got in the limo.
Got in and you went. And that's how it happened. So you thought it was a gift from somebody. Now I'll hear your side, Miss Williams.
Well, I think it was late evening in August. Miss Armstrong called. When I answer the phone, I always give people rates of each vehicle that we have.
Well, she says that nobody gave her the rates.
First thing we do anytime we answer the phone.
Do you remember her call specifically? I
do.
Well, then I want you to tell me her call specifically, if you remember.
I do. My husband took her call.
Okay, then if this is your husband, so let me hear you.
Yes, ma'am, I did. She called, and she was a very nice lady, and she had some unusual requests. She told me that she was on a budget. We understand that. She initially booked a Navigator. We have a Navigator SUV Super Stretch. So I told her to help her out. I would do what we call a split run, which we don't normally do, but the Greer, the church that she was at, is a well-known church in our community. Our shop is also located in Greer. So usually...
Don't tell me usually.
Okay.
She says, and it sounds logical to me, that if you were going to hold this date of October 26th, that would have required a deposit. What she says has a ring of truth to it, that she was told that you'll hold the date for her till the end of the day, then you're going to need a deposit to hold the date permanently and to show up at the wedding.
No, ma'am. She told me she would like to book the vehicle. A deposit is customary, but it's not something we do all the time. Yes, ma'am. And the reason I waived the deposit in this case is she said she didn't have a credit card. She would pay cash the day of the service. She did book the car. She gave me the information where to pick her up at the church. She said she was going to the City Club, from the City Club wherever, which was after their reception. And the reason I gave her a flat rate is because we did do a split, and she wanted to be picked up back at 4 o'clock from 4 to 8. The reason I waived the deposit is because I did have all her information, and I had her work phone number, and I had the church, so I had no reason to believe that it was a call that would be somebody, you know, playing a joke or anything.
I'd like to see the contract that you say she signed.
This is the contract. That was the total amount, and I'll explain that to Judge.
I just want to see her signature and tell me when you sent her the contract. Well, this was signed on the day of the wedding.
Yes, ma'am. We send the contract with the drivers unless they request it in advance, and then we faxed it to them. But since it was not requested, we always send it's considered a trip sheet. Each driver has that with them.
Tell me about this contract.
Okay. That contract was explained to me as a damage waiver. 5 hours into I'd already been to my reception. The limo picked me up at 4 o'clock, like he was supposed to. At 4 o'clock, we went to the church. We cleaned the church up. We left the church, and we were at a gas station 5 hours into the reception. The limo driver comes up to me. That was on a clipboard. He said, "Miss Armstrong, I apologize. I'm a new employee." He said, "This should have been signed prior to you getting in the limo at the church." He said, "All this is a damage waiver stating that if you have broken glass, any damages to the limo, you will be responsible for it." And I said, "That's all it is?" He goes, "Yes, yes, ma'am, it is." And then he made a joke, and he says, "Your first official signature is Mrs. Armstrong."
Well,
I signed it, he walked away, and that was it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You and your husband got in the car, 1, 2, 3, snap, snap, snap. If you think that's a gift, you come out of the church, you stop, you say, "My God, what is this? My goodness gracious me, where did this come from?"
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah and Gregory Williams claim they've yet to be paid for a limousine rented for Sherry Armstrong's wedding. Sherry denies ordering the limo.
Okay, Mr. Williams. You have your driver here?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see your driver.
I'm Gene Thompson, Your Honor.
Did you make a mistake, Mr. Thompson, that day?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Williams, did you make a mistake, sir?
No, ma'am.
I'm not so sure. I mean, I've dealt with limousine services before, and it's not usually handled this way.
Well, it's a judgment call as far as waiving the deposit.
It's not a judgment call, Mr. Williams. It's business. If you told me that you knew this lady, that she came as a reference, that she came through a relative, that you knew her at all, and you decided that you were going to waive the deposit and hold the date anyway, maybe I could understand that. But someone who's calling you from the yellow pages that you don't know from a hole in the wall, you don't waive the deposit and hold that date and hold your Suburban. What if somebody else calls you and then she decides at the last minute that she's not going to use your service?
Ms. Williams can answer that. She did call back and she reconfirmed the date.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Tell
ma'am.
me about that.
About a week prior to the event, I got a call. I would assume it was Miss Armstrong. She did not say she was. She was calling to check to be sure that her limo was confirmed. And she spoke about the number of people that would be in there. I said the limit in the Navigator is 15 people. She asked if more people could get in there. I said, "No, ma'am, that's the capacity. We have a larger vehicle."
I never called back. I did ask them about the capacity, the first call I made about a month and a half prior to my wedding. I never called them, nor did I go down there or pay any type of deposit.
I didn't ask you about going down there, paying any kind of deposit.
I never
I
called.
asked you about a telephone call.
I called one time, and it's a month and a half prior to my wedding, and that's it.
How many other limousine companies did you call?
Probably, I would say at least 8.
Who was the cheapest?
They were, actually.
Then what changed your mind about having a limousine pick you up at the wedding?
My fiance and I talked about it, and we just decided for $800 it just wasn't worth it, so we decided not to do it. And
I'd like to see your video.
Okay. This is right after our pictures were taken in the church. We were coming out.
I'm watching you. Whose car is the black car? Is the dark car right over there?
The black car there, I'm not sure. That must be a guest.
And it was as you were coming out there that you saw the limousine?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I have to make a judgment. They say that you called and reserved this limousine. You say you did not. You thought it was a gift. That is not what happens when you think that that's a gift. If you think that's a gift, what you say is you stop, You come out of the church, you stop, you say, my God, what is this? You turn around to the person driving the car and you say, my goodness gracious, put your hand down. My goodness gracious me, where did this come from? I didn't order this. This must be some mistake. You and your husband got in the car, 1, 2, 3, snap, snap, snap. Took a picture. I didn't see anything. This where did this come from? This must be some gift. $795 judgment for the plaintiff. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They made the reservations. They knew it wasn't paid for.
I never signed a contract.
She said she'd take care of everything at the end of the evening. At the end of the evening, they were very intoxicated.
The limo driver told us repeatedly that it was paid for.
They were getting unruly.
I just feel like I'm not responsible.
I told them to go ahead and just let them out. I would handle it in the morning.
We assumed, which we shouldn't have, that the limo had been taken care of by a family member or someone else in the party.
They had 3 hours before the reception, before the driver came back to find out who had rented the limousine.
We had no idea.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Little versus Whitlock Whitehead. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Crystal Biddle and her mother Gail are suing schoolteacher Darlene Whitlock and her brother, 25-year-old student Dale Whitehead, for the value of a totaled car.
What's your first name?
Crystal.
Crystal. Is this your mom?
Yes.
And yours?
Darlene.
I'm Dale.
According to your complaint, you had cars in school. You were in school and you were in school. Is that right?
Correct.
And you had one car, you had another car, your cars were parked next to each other in a parking lot. Is that right?
Yes.
Your car, without any indication of any fault on your part, you weren't even there, caught fire and was destroyed.
Correct.
Your car was next to his car and was also destroyed.
Yes.
You want them, you're the owner of the car,
Yes, ma'am.
to pay the cost of a new car or a replacement car.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Go ahead.
Well, I should not be tormented for somebody's car who had electrical problems shoot into my car and start on fire. It's not fair to me.
How do we know that the car had electrical problems?
In the report it says...
Can I see the
yes.
report, please? Let's see what it says. So there are several cars involved in this, and it's clear that, according to the fire report, it says the Ford van was the vehicle that the fire started in the electrical wiring.
Yes.
So why don't you sue Ford? What are you suing him for?
He's the one who owned the car.
Would it be my fault?
Why didn't you have insurance on your car?
I had liability insurance.
Yeah, but you don't have collision, you don't have damage.
That's just...
This is, look, I'm trying to think of an example to give you that would probably make it more palatable to you. When there is a fault, you target the person who's at fault, person or entity that's at fault, if they cause you injury or damage, right?
Yes.
He was not at fault. He didn't create this car. There is no indication that he was aware or the owner of the car was aware that there were electrical problems with the car. So certainly they're not at fault. Now, are they absolutely liable for anything that happens as a result of their car? No. Not at all. What happens if they're driving along the street and a boulder hits their car and their car swerves and hits into your car? Certainly not their fault, because they didn't do anything that was negligent. So what you have to do is you have to have collision if you want to be fully protected, or else go after the people who made the car. If there was faulty electrical wiring, isn't that what you were told?
No.
Well, what were you told?
We were just told to file a claim against the owner and the driver of the vehicle.
For what?
Well, the vehicle was smashed in the front end of the vehicle, and the insurance company that he had didn't even send anyone out to look at their car to see if there was any evidence of any
This
problem.
is the fire department report. The fire department report says that it was an electrical fire.
Right. Well, what we were saying is that we believe that there probably were problems with the van that they were aware of.
Show me. Just a minute. Then if what you're saying to me, Ms. Biddle, is accurate, that they had knowledge that there was something wrong with their car, and yet drove it, and thereby placed other cars at risk, then they would be responsible. I agree with you. Show me. Give me proof. that they knew or should have known that there was something wrong with their car that could cause a fire, and then you get whatever you want. Do you have any proof?
If anybody would have walked past that van, anybody would have known that there was problems with that van. It was rusted up, it was very old, and it didn't like it was taken care of very well. So
That doesn't mean, listen to me, Miss Biddle, that means that the car will one day be driving along the road and stop running. That doesn't mean that it's going to explode in a fire. Miss Biddle, you need proof. Expert proof that, for instance, the car was in an accident. They were advised by a mechanic that unless it was fixed, the car could, by spontaneous combustion, start on fire. Because otherwise, there are lots of scenarios that are possible. It's also possible that somebody lit a match, opened the hood, threw it in the car, and caught on an electrical wire, and that's what they saw. They saw the electrical wires burned, that somebody else did that. Do you think that they would be responsible if somebody passed their car and, as a prank, took a match and threw it in the gas tank and the car exploded and your car was damaged? Do you think they'd be responsible?
No.
Why? Just a minute. Why not?
Well, I mean, it was somebody else could have, you know, done it just to get him in trouble, but...
Someone else could have done something to destroy his car. It's not different. It's not different. You have to show a fault, that somehow these people knew that they were driving around in a dangerous vehicle that could cause damage to somebody else's property. And you don't have that proof, so you have no case. So next time you want to be fully protected, get collision. Case dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of Wells versus Howells. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Wells, according to what I've read, sir, you and the defendant had a glorious 11-year relationship. Sometimes on, sometimes off. Now it's off. It's over. But about 2 years ago, when it was over, it is your claim that Miss Howells, while you were incarcerated on some kind of domestic dispute, she stole all of your personal property. So that's the first part of your lawsuit, that you want your personal property from 2 years ago.
Yes.
Then, more recently, in 2002, you got back together again. And you claim that you proposed marriage, and you gave her a ring. And then a month or so later, the relationship ended for good, so you want the ring back.
Yes.
Miss Howells says that she deserves the ring. She doesn't even address the stuff, but she says she deserves the ring after 11 years of being with you. And she's counterclaiming because she says in November, which is the date of the final breakup, that you assaulted her and she wants to be compensated for her pain and suffering, whatever medical bill she has. So I'm not going to get into what you say Miss Howells took 2 years ago, and I'm going to tell you why, sir. Have you been incarcerated for the last 2 years?
No.
Then would you like to tell me why you did not pursue this matter for 2 years?
Well, Your Honor.
I know who I am, so just tell me why.
The reason why is because we have been together and on and off so many times that I've lost count, and these things that I want are things that I bought with my own money. I've paid Ms. Howells numerous amounts of cash and dining and trips to Mexico, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and I've been slapped in the face, and I'd like to have my things back.
Well, you should have been more vigilant, Mr. Wells. Courts are set up to deal with divorces. They're not set up to deal with almost marrieds, almost togethers, 11-year relationships that don't pan out. You had 2 years in which to act, you didn't. But I'm going to get to the ring for a second. Where's the ring, Miss Howells?
The ring, I returned to Costco in Medford, Oregon, and gave them a picture of the attack of my right arm, and they returned the money to me.
How much money did they return?
$1,099.
That's what you owe him, $1,099. Is that what you paid for the ring, Mr. Wells?
Yes.
An engagement ring is given in anticipation of getting married. You didn't get married, you don't keep the ring or the value thereof because you returned the ring. You don't keep the cash because you feel as if you deserve it. You don't. If you're foolish enough to live with somebody who abuses you and who makes your life miserable, that's your problem. You don't get to keep the ring. So you get $1,099, sir, on your complaint. Okay. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. I want you to tell me what happened in November when you claimed that Mr. Wells assaulted you.
Okay, Mr. Wells and I, being he was having some behavior problems, I was going to drive us to a Christian marriage counseling. It was a 2-day seminar. We tried to find the place where it was going to take place and could not find it. So we decided to just go to dinner and, you know, and forget about it. So we went to dinner, had a couple drinks, and then on the way home, we stopped at this nightclub. It's a steakhouse nightclub. He started verbally accusing me things of looking at some guy in the bar and things like that, starting a fight. And I was having a good time. And anyway, so we get to my home, and you know, it escalated. So we get out of the car, go in the house, and he all of a sudden just turned into a totally different person and told me that, called me some names, and then he told me he was going to kick that TV in, the big screen TV, and he was going to slap me in my face, and he was going to walk out the door and get a taxi and go home. Well, he didn't have any money. So he grabbed my phone and proceeded out the door with it. I said, "Give me my phone back." Anyway, he slammed it down on the cement. I said, "Scott, calm down." He came back inside my home, and he just was out of control. I said, "I will give you the money to take a taxi, you know, if that's your big, you know, thing." I go, "Why can't you just get along with me and we can just, you know, work this out? You know, why do you have to be like this?" And anyway, he grabbed my purse at one time, ran to the door, and then I ran after him and got my purse away because I had some money in it. We kind of backed up. I kind of backed to my kitchen counter, and I just, something in my heart told me I just better make it to the door and scream because of the way he was carrying on and going out of his mind. And anyway, so I ran to the door, got the door open. I opened the door with my right hand, and he immediately, and I got to scream out for help, and he immediately grabbed my right arm. It's really hard, and he covered up my mouth, dragged me to my office. It's a second bedroom I use for my office. He dragged me in there and told me the police are going to come, oh, you know, and how much he loved me, and he just carried on, you know, please, you know, tell him I left, you know, because actually when he grabbed me on my arm and grabbed me around my face, I thought he was going to kill me.
Okay, so he grabbed you by the arm, put his hands across your mouth and said, "Please don't scream because the poliece are going to come. Tell them I'm not here."
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, so then the police came, and anyway, he hid in my closet, and they pulled him out of the closet, but he had put something in one of my shoes.
What did he put in one of your shoes?
I have the police report, Your Honor.
What did he put in your shoe?
Meth, drugs.
Drugs. So who was arrested?
He was arrested.
What about
I didn't press charges.
What about you?
No, I went in and did a urinalysis in my bathroom. They gave me the cup, and I'm clean. You know,
What about him?
No, they took him to jail.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not a drug user.
So this was an isolated instance?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right.
And later today.
Your Honor, she knew I was going in the hallway.
That doesn't mean anything if she knew you were going in the hallway, Miss Davis.
Yes, Your Honor. This is how it was.
No, it wasn't. Stop making it up as you're going along.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charles Scott Wells says ex-fiancée Linda Howells owes for the return of property and an engagement ring. Linda says he bought the ring at Costco and she returned it.
All right, Mr. Wells, let's hear your version of the events of the 3rd of November, 2002.
Well, I call this the abuse of the legal system, and here's why. Ms. Howells had made a statement to her neighbor, "If I'm murdered, then it's my boyfriend who did it." Well, that was early in the afternoon. Ms. Howells picks me up that evening, takes me out to dinner, takes me back to her house, goes outside, screams, "Help," I get arrested. That's the short version of it. I mean, that's just one incident. And I've got proof right here.
I'd like to see it.
Also, Ms. Howells is sue crazy. She's got 7 lawsuits going. Here's one that's just recent, a whiplash case.
Shh, I'm not interested in a whiplash case. Let me see proof, sir.
This from here in this.
Why were you hiding in the closet?
The reason I was hiding in the closet is because of an incident that happened 2 years ago that was similar to this, where she had called the police, had me arrested, said that I had threatened her. I went to jail, and that's when I lost my belongings out of my house.
So is that why you were hiding? What about the drugs?
The drugs, I don't do drugs now as isolated incidents.
Just a second. What were the drugs doing in her shoe?
I had put them there.
Why?
Because when Miss Howells opened the door for the police, she said, he's hiding in the closet.
Well, what were you doing walking around with the drugs?
I was on my way.
Methamphetamine. What were you doing walking around with?
It was a foolish mistake, Your Honor. I mean, it was something I am very embarrassed about.
What did you plan to do with it, sir?
Pardon?
I mean, we going to frame it?
I was going to snort it.
Had you snorted any of it before?
In the past?
Yes.
No, I'm not a drug user. It's
so this was an isolated instance?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right. Were you given a urine test when you got to the precinct?
Yes.
Is it negative or positive?
I'm not sure what the results were.
Really? All right. Let me see your injuries, please.
Okay. And here's a copy of the police report, what happened. And then there's that on my arm. And then the incident of, it was actually a year prior, November 23rd, 2001.
I'm not interested in what happened the year before. I'm not interested in his property that happened the year before. I'm not interested.
Okay.
Oh, this is a bad bruise.
Very bad. And I had a 5-hour shoulder surgery in 1997 on my shoulder.
Oh, please. I'm not interested in the year of the flood, madam.
And, Your Honor,
well,
there was no...
No, Your Honor, it caused me paralysis, his grabbing me.
Okay, right now you look just fine, but he gave you a nasty bruise.
There was no report of that when the incident happened with the police. This is all fabricated.
Because I didn't press charges. I tried to protect you.
You admitted to the police, sir, that you last snorted the meth earlier that evening.
Yes, I did. Your Honor, I went down the wrong path there. And
fine, well then what you did, sir, you went down the wrong path, and what happened is...
But the drugs have not...
No, listen to me. You went down the wrong path, sir, and what happened when you go down the wrong path and you snort drugs earlier in the evening, your behavior changes.
Mm-hmm.
Even your memory of events change. Because what you told me happened was that she set you up that night.
She did.
That she came to take you to dinner, and she drove you home to her house, and then she ran outside and screamed for the police so that she could have you arrested. If that's really what you think, I feel sorry for you. If that's what you want me to believe, I feel sorry for me, because it's not what happened, sir.
Well, Your Honor,
what happened is you got into an argument with her. You were behaving irrationally. You were a little bit sweaty. I don't know what your circumstance is as we stand here today, and I'm certainly not going to ask you, but I will tell you that night you were acting a little bit irrationally. She went outside and screamed for somebody to call the police, and you got busted, and you got busted for either a disturbance at her home and or the drug possession. You probably pled guilty to the drug possession. Is that a fair statement?
Well, Miss Howells was arrested for marijuana that evening.
Did you?
And she was partying with me.
Did you plead guilty to the drug possession?
Yes, I did.
So that's over.
Yeah.
So that part is...
I haven't tried
that part is over with. As part of what happened in the course of that evening, sir, you bruised her very badly. Because you didn't want to get... Oh, yeah, you did.
That picture could be from anything. If she was injured, wouldn't she have told the police that night when I was arrested?
A black and blue mark like that doesn't come out 2 seconds later. It comes out, that's what happened. You grabbed her inside. You mean you didn't punch her? She didn't say, he punched me, he kicked me in the back, he threatened to stab me. He said you grabbed her by the arm, which you did, in order to take her inside to shut her up. You were acting irrationally. I don't think that she was seriously injured that night. I don't believe that. But I believe she was injured sufficiently enough to cost you $1,099, which is the cost of the engagement ring. So your claim is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel like this is a defeat for men that have women abusing the legal system to get material things from men.
He makes up stories, and he actually believes them.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Wallace. Step forward, please.
26-year-old homemaker Shoshana Davis and her son, 7-year-old Raleek Wilkes, are suing her aunt, airport security screener Yvette Wallace, for causing her son's finger to be severed.
Miss Davis, Miss Wallace is your aunt, is that right?
Yes.
And this is your son?
Yes.
He's 7?
Yes.
And what's your first name?
Raleek.
Raleek?
Yes.
Miss Wallace, this is your daughter?
Yes.
You like him?
Yes.
Is that right? You play together occasionally? According to your complaint, Miss Davis, you were at your aunt's house, socializing?
Yes.
Sitting in the kitchen, having a cup of coffee?
Yes.
And the kids were playing?
Yes.
And at some point, this young lady went into the bathroom.
Yes.
According to you, she slammed Ralik's finger in the door, causing the tip of his finger to come off.
Yes.
And then you took him to the hospital, and they had to find the tip of the finger, and you say Miss Wallace didn't get the tip of the finger there fast enough. To make a long story short, Ralik is missing a little piece of his finger. And you want your aunt to pay for all of his medical bills and for pain and suffering. You want her to pay you $5,000, right?
Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
You're sitting with your aunt in the kitchen, having a cup of coffee. What happens? Was he in the kitchen with you and followed her into the bathroom?
No, he wasn't. They was playing in Christina's bedroom.
Right.
Christina runs into the bathroom after hitting Ralik. And
She hit him?
Yes.
Where did she hit him?
On my leg.
You mean she hit you because she was angry with you?
No.
Was she playing around? Huh?
Yes.
Sure she was. And then she went into the bathroom. What did you do, Ralik?
I ran after her.
Right. And she slammed the door?
Yes.
And you got your finger caught in the door?
Yes.
So? That's what happened?
Yes. And I'm suing because it's his left hand. He cannot participate in certain activities in school because it's his left hand.
Should have watched him more carefully, Miss Davis. You're his mother. Why didn't you watch him?
I was not in the apartment.
I thought you said you were in the apartment.
Miss Wallace, he was in Miss Wallace's care as I was in the hallway. Now,
just a second. What do you mean he was? Shh, just a second.
Your Honor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you just told me you were socializing with your aunt.
We was engaging in conversation.
Who was?
Me and the other tenants that live inside the projects. There was an incident in the building, and I was standing in the hallway. I was not in the apartment at the present time.
Just a second. You didn't leave him in her care. Just because she stayed in the apartment and minded her own business, you went outside to mind somebody else's business. If you were so concerned about your son's welfare, you should have stayed in the apartment.
You're right, Your
Why
Honor.
do you blame somebody else?
No, I'm not blaming her at that matter. I'm blaming her because we do conjugate like that.
Fine. Well, then why are you blaming her and suing her for this incident that occurred that had no fault on her part?
Okay.
None at all. Her daughter was playing with your son. He ran after her in the bathroom.
Yes.
She slammed the door.
Yes.
And he got his finger caught in the door because he put his finger in the door. Why should she pay you $5,000?
Why? Because while we was there, no one ever, Christina never apologized. Plus, because of his, this is permanent defective.
But that doesn't mean that just because he's got a permanent injury doesn't mean that your aunt is liable for that injury.
Why not? If it was done in her house
You brought your child there.
Yes.
You are responsible to supervise your child, not her. You.
Yes.
If you had brought your child there and said to her, will you supervise and take care of Ralik while I go to the store?
But Your Honor.
I'm speaking.
Okay.
And she said, I will take care of him. Then you might have a case against her for inadequate supervision.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you're there. You're his mother. He's hurt.
Yes.
He's hurt while in your care. Just because you walked outside to be a yenta in the hallway doesn't mean because you left her in the apartment that she's responsible. No, Miss Davis. You're still responsible.
Your Honor, she knew I was going in the hallway.
That doesn't mean anything if she knew you were going in the hallway, Miss Davis. Doesn't mean anything. She has to assume the responsibility and say to you, I will take care of your son while you go out.
Yes, Your Honor. This is how it was.
No, it wasn't. Stop making it up as you're going along.
Never.
Your case is dismissed, Miss Davis. I want you to get a life. Be responsible. It's your son. You take care of him. Not somebody else. It's not her fault.
But, Your Honor, you didn't even look at his finger.
It doesn't make any difference what happened to his finger, madam. He's your child. You are responsible for supervising him and taking care of him. And don't make it somebody else's fault. It was your fault that you didn't watch him more carefully. If you did, he wouldn't have had his finger chopped off. It's not her fault. She went into the bathroom. They were playing. She slammed the door. His finger was in the door. You don't make a lawsuit out of nothing. Goodbye.
What's a yenta?
A talker.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
হ্যালো ফ্রেন্ডস, সবাই কেমন আছো? আশা করি সবাই ভালো আছো। আজকে তোমাদের সামনে আমি এই ছবিটির রং করে দেখাবো, ভিডিওটি না টেনে সম্পূর্ণ দেখুন। আমাদের ছবিটি রং করা সম্পূর্ণ হলো।